Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much. Who was that earlier?
You can take away my spaceship. You can take away
Spaceship.
my space suit.
Suit.
You can even take away my space lasers. But you can never,
Never.
ever
Ever.
take away my space game.
I don't think I have party on this, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't.
Good news, everyone!
Whoop whoop.
Thank you so much for that. Gosh, what is that? 3 months. 9 months and 3 months, Ottoman and Escobar. Thank you guys all for that. Let's get to the office, shall we? Oh, hey, Space Tomato. Dig Dug, Roy, Moonshadow, Death Trooper Escape. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the office hours. I have shaved. I have cut my hair. I'm looking like a dapper fat man. How y'all doing? No audio on Twitch? Okay, there we go. Like a clean, dapper, new ship, the new ship smell, yes. And no, I'm not fully shaved. I've got that kind of like, I cut it down to its nubble, stubble, the stubble nubble. Winter coat, yeah, kind of. Looking very Austin, Texas, thank you. Yeah, I decided to just cut the hair off because I was tired of it. I meant to get it cut before I came back to streaming last week, but I did not have time. There was no time. So I made time after school today. I was just like, I'm just going to get a haircut. Paul looks like what I expect a history buff in Austin, Texas to look like. Yeah, mostly. Usually a little bit thicker beard and bow tie, but yeah. You can take away my space, but we can never take away my space toilet. All right, so yeah, I don't know which one of you fine members of the pub, which one of you fine pubbers has been posting on fucking Reddit, spreading the word of poop, but thank you. I feel bad because I'm sure I'm not the first person to talk about it, but I know I am the person who makes jokes about it the most that I know of. And the fact that, like, when the lead ship designer or one of the lead ship designers posts on Reddit about, like, yeah, it's that, like, essentially what I've been saying for a while, which is like, it's hard to, someone posted a video or someone posted a comment being like, stop asking people to, like, you know, oh, why don't they do X, Y, or Z? Why isn't X, Y, or Z out? And the answer is, like, the person who posted was basically like, they can't just move ship designers over to gameplay designers. That's not how that works. That's not, you have to, it involves a lot of different complicated functions. And popped on, CIG developer popped on and it's like, yeah, pretty much. Like, I've been doing ship development for 6 years. If I moved over to the gameplay team, it would take me 9 months just to get up to speed with what they were doing. And I'd have to relearn what I'm doing with Star Citizen and relearn Star Citizen as a whole. And so you know, he's talking about it. Top fucking comments are, when are we adding flushing toilets and when are we going to have wipe and poop gameplay? It's like, God fucking damn it. Why are you fucking degenerates bothering him with this? I mean, yes, good. Those are the real tough questions we need to be asking because they're funny. And I'm sure it's much better for them to be asked that question than anything about the fucking Ion. But still, God damn it. Let me pull it up. Here we go. Okay. So here's the comment. It's posted on Reddit. The comment is pretty boilerplate. It kind of explains it a little bit more, like kind of how and why CIG isn't doing what they're doing. And as I think we talked about this last time when we talked about, I also need a pop filter. Like, whoa, I have one. This is the first time I've needed one because of the pop, 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 pop sounds are going to just pop, blow everything out. So, but, this is the first time. Wow, no, look at this. Last time when we talked about it, when someone was going on about how CIG doesn't listen, all these sorts of things, one of the things they mentioned was we kept going through it, and they're like, every time they had a critique about something, we would come back and be like, but you know, this is actually answers. Like, well, why didn't they hire more people? It's like they're trying to, like. They can't move people around because that's not how the video game works. And it wouldn't speed up the video game anyways. And, you know, why aren't they focusing on hiring people who need it? It's like, look at the hiring site. They are hiring people. They've been hiring people for years, but no one fucking listens. So, like, we're starting to see this a little. I think this is a good pushback against a lot of that tired old thing. Like, I'm just getting tired of the old rhetoric. The people joking, it's an alpha, and the people also going defending, oh, it's an alpha. You can't critique an alpha. It's like, fuck you. Yes, you can. But at the same time, I'm tired of the old jokes. Scam citizen. Game never gonna come out. It's not funny. It was old. Like in the first 2 years you used it. You beat it. Stop being a boomer. Stop boomer memeing. Come up with new shit. Like poop. Poop is new shit. That's funny. So here's Adam Parker, who's on the ship team. He talks about kind of like he's been there for 5 or 6 now. You take the assets from the ship art team and makes them into an entity they can interact with the game. And it's a completely different skill set compared to making gameplay loops. Even though I'd still be a designer, I need to drop most of my expertise working on the part of Star Citizen I know and learn a whole new load of new stuff, which would take me quite a while to get up to the gameplay quality we want. This game ain't simple. Pretty simple, pretty easy is what he said. But then a top comment, can you make the ship's toilets flushable? All right. And then we got to go down a little bit further. And the next top comment, I swear to God. Appreciate the response. Communications like this keeps me so energized to play. Have a great 2022. Also, when are pooping and butt wiping mechanics coming in? It's my most anticipated feature. Oh, I've created a monster. Oh, why do I keep doing this? Because it's funny. But why do I keep doing this? So the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because it's just something that I personally, it's not my biggest problem with the game. Like there are some problems with the game that with CIG and how they develop things that I'm just like, eh. But this is one of those things that I think is more of an issue than most realize. Simply because it's something that people take for granted and a lot of early backers really want, but is actually not as good as they think. Let me explain. So, immersion is a bad meme at this point. It's done to death, whatever. But the concept of immersion makes sense in the sense that it's trying to give you the authenticity, the experience, the feel of living in a sci-fi universe that you wanted to when you were a kid. That kind of thing. That was its point. But then some people take this to an extreme level. And Chris is one of those people. Chris Roberts is one of those people, I feel. And poop is just one example of it. Because my question always comes with gameplay is, what is the point of the gameplay? Hit the mic. What is the point of the gameplay? And can this be done in a way that is fun, that interacts with the gameplay, but it's not like tedious? So like, what's its point? And can it be not tedious? because there's enough tedium in this game as it is, which is fine. I know there's a lot of people who call for less tedium. I think it's at a good point right now, but poop is funny. It is. I was taking a number 2. There's bathrooms, and they've talked about hygiene mechanics for years. There's a shoilet. It's really going to make us poop. It's funny, but yeah, that's the thing. Well, the thing is that we joked about this last time. Like last office hours, we made this joke, and I brought it up multiple times over the last 2 years, kind of since we sat down and talked about it and at Captain's Table with HC Vertigo and Darj. We couldn't breathe. It was so stupid. We went down that rabbit hole, and ever since then, people have been bringing it up. I think what happened was I was in the middle of talking about my rant about poop and poop in Star Citizen, and the non-normal Astropub folks, the folks, the normie Star Citizen viewers, as I like to call them, I guess. Got rated by I forgot who it was. My brain is just, I know the name. I'm picturing his face, but I can't remember his fucking name, and I feel horrible about that. Zero? Yeah, Zero State. When he rated, everyone was just like, tell me more about poop. So I think that just made a meme, I guess. I don't know. I've created a monster. The point being, I actually don't like the idea of pooping in Star Citizen. Not because I think I have a problem with poop or whatever. It's just, it feels like an excess. Like, honestly, hygiene, like showering and those kind of things, that makes sense. And even having a toilet in-game makes sense because for role-playing purposes, but also for like AFK purposes, like if you're going to go use the actual restroom in the middle of a flight, if you just walk in, a multi-cruise ship, if you walk in, you just sit on the toilet while you're going to use the restroom, that's immersion, but it's also like a nice little AFK signal that you could use. So I can see that. And it's not as much work as you think to just make a toilet seat that it's sittable on, and it adds to that, like, there's not really many bathrooms in science fiction, so it kind of adds a little bit. And showers make sense. The reason why they wanted to do hygiene was because they wanted the idea that depending on how well you are taking care of yourself will determine how NPCs interact with you. So it's kind of like an addition to the reputation system that's more of an immediate reputation. Whereas, mostly your reputation is how good are you at your job, all sorts of things. The hygiene thing is more of a how do people see you right now, And it would add an interesting flavor for gameplay interaction, because if you're walking around stinking like you haven't taken a shower in a week, you might have interactions with NPCs going, oh God, go take a shower. And mission givers being like, no, and shopkeepers being like, get out. You're stinking up the place. That kind of thing is funny, and it's interesting, and it creates interesting worlds. And it's just enough immersion that you're actually, it adds to the gameplay. It adds to the experience. It's like doing a low intelligence run in Fallout 1 or 2. When you have low intelligence, you get extra options of just being an idiot, and it makes it fun. It's that kind of thing. It adds an extra layer of character customization almost. But pooping? Like, why? Yeah, every other game I know that has poop mechanics has been ridiculous. Yeah, like you got to think about Rust makes no sense, or Ark has poop. It really has no purpose. It's just poop. You just poop. I guess you could use it for fertilizer, but and then Scum has its own a hyper evolved system like that. But Star Citizen isn't a survival game. It has survival elements, but it's not a survival game. And CIG even has said that they don't want to make it a survival game. So I don't know why poop would be added. See how to use the 3 seashells, yeah. No, pooping isn't the only thing. Pooping is just funny. Another example that I've heard people promote for is nutrition, saying you need to have a balanced nutrition in order to survive. Otherwise, you have bad stuff. That's like Atlas levels of bullshit that I'm not okay with. Like, no. Or like hydration. Like, we have hydration now, but like hydration being like super hardcore. Like, yeah. Gosh, what else is there? I brought up a little bit. Like paperwork. Paperwork makes sense in the sense of like reality. Everything you do is going to generate some paperwork in some way, shape, or form. I don't want to have to wait in line at the space DMV to get a space license and fill out paperwork and take pictures and all that kind of stuff. That's not fun. It's not interesting. It doesn't add to the game. It's just tedious. I want to consider some of the other ones. So no more surviving off thirst off just booze. I mean, it makes sense to have thirst be impacted by like alcohol and stuff like that. But I'm saying like adding a realistic hydration system where like you have to have 32 to 64 ounces or up to a gallon of water to survive per day or whatever, like that kind of concept. Let's see what else. I can see paperwork in some cases, but that's like mission giver stuff, not like legitimately like DMV stuff. Also, one of the things I've hear a lot of people saying is they want hardcore medical in the game. They want to be able to perform surgery in the game or have significant amounts of, like, I know because a lot of people like meme on the fact that there is different lasers is what CIG is doing for various things. But the reality is that making something that's that in depth would work well for medical personnel, but it would not work well for your average player. And when you start going down the route of immersion and sim for the sake of having sim and immersion, you start risking alienating people who would normally be willing to hop on board and try it out. And this game isn't going to survive off of sim nuts. You know, sim is just not a genre that gets lots of attention or deserves a lot of attention outside of its hardcore fan base. I know Microsoft Flight Sim was very popular and it's still very popular, but it's, you know, it's kind of like only certain numbers of people will play, even who aren't interested in Sims will deal with it for a short amount of time. I'm not saying Sim is bad or that it's or like you shouldn't want more Sims in Star Citizen, more Sim stuff in Star Citizen. I'm just saying there's a limit to Sim, that it becomes a problem with the gameplay, where it's actively hurting the population and the player base. I don't understand how those things are bad. The flight doesn't need to be as detailed as it is, but it's fun for people. I don't know what you're talking about. Like paperwork and like that, like medical system details. Farming Simulator is not terrible. In fact, one of the great examples of a game that is often used as a reference for Star Citizen in terms of gameplay is Shipbreaker. Now, Shipbreaker is actually how I think Star Citizen is going to handle, at least partially, salvage. If you haven't played Shipbreaker, it's a great example of a game that has a solid core concept that evolves over time, that requires some like complicated troubleshooting, and has an interesting premise overall. It's a nice, simple little indie game that works for what it's designed to do. Star Citizen could easily take all of Shipbreaker and make that work. They shouldn't, because that's way too detailed. But the concept of that Shipbreaker has, like, for instance, removing vital materials like CPUs and reactors and so on and so forth before carving up the ship and then, salvaging certain pieces, and then like just hull plating, you just kind of chuck into the recycler sort of thing. That makes sense for Star Citizen. And that's a good example of like taking something that's probably too sim for Star Citizen, because that would be the entire game of Star Citizen. It's the entire game of Shipbreaker, Hard Space Shipbreaker, I think it's called. And kind of simplifying it, making it easier to people to digest, and making it fun. Because like Shipbreaker is fun, but man, it ramps up its difficulty. It can get super complicated. So. Dude, my grandkids are... Space Mano, I hate that joke. I hate those jokes. Oh, my grandkids are going to play this game. I think it's just really lame. Like, you want to pull out some oh gosh, Insane Wolf memes while we're here? You want to pull troll face emojis? Grandpa? I already said it earlier. I think I'm tired of like the tired old jokes about Star Citizen. They're not funny. They weren't funny to begin with, really. And they're now just boring, Come up with new things, like poop. It's all theoretical. I think it'll be turned fun when it's developed. I agree, but I also think that there are points upon which that the community is interested in going that I would rather see CIG not push that direction, like nutrition bars, like highly detailed mechanics for every single profession. I think you can. There's definitely things you can do in the game to make something complex and repeatable, but not have to add complexity for the sake of complexity. Mining is a great example of this. Mining is a simple gameplay loop. It's not too complicated, it's not too difficult, but to add complexity to it, you can add things like scanning, which is not just a mining thing, it's a lot of different types of gameplay that use scanning for their own purposes. So adding scanning technology to mining and kind of making that a little bit more complex will add to mining overall. Refining is another example where refining has a component with mining, but it's not necessarily the same thing. You can do refining without mining. It's, up to you. And the interconnectedness of all of Star Citizen's gameplay is the thing that makes that'll make Star Citizen complex. You don't need to sit down and think up of super detailed ways of having a surgeon to be surgically removing body parts and repairing and crafting things to people's limbs and all that kind of stuff. You just need a simple system that's going to be intense, time sensitive, require some patience and concentration, but is overall a fun experience and something that is valuable for you to have in terms of medical. But medical also needs things like resources, support. So you need to have people who can give you or carry all that equipment. So you need to have the right kind of equipment that you can carry around. The combat guys are going to need doctors and medics to be able to come with them so that they don't get screwed up. So you need to have a medical system that's complex enough that they have to rely on those guys without having to be solely reliant on them, being able to survive on their own a little bit. I can't see both chats, and the chat's really small for some reason. I saw what you said there. Something about a rant. It's a long game. I'm actually a Factorio fan. It's the long game. I'm actually a Factorio fan. Okay. I'm noticing you, Space Tomato. I'm sorry. Can we get a follow command for Space Tomato? I want gameplay to be in-depth enough. There can be someone's speciality, but not so deep that a turret gunner needs an engineer. He doesn't need a manual first. Yeah. We may have the equivalent of the European fecal standards with the measurement. God damn it. I've created a monster. There's one thing I've always thought about with immersion going too far, and that's with the third person. I'm sure how people perceive it, but what I've lived my life in the third person, some sense, a lot of sensations that will inform spatial awareness are missing in Star Citizen for me, like doing vehicles in the third person, because otherwise it's hard to get a sense of space. This might be because I have a minor synesthesia, but I find that checking my Mobi-Glass every few minutes for lack of information. I do that too, yeah. I actually do that a lot by like instinct, because I check my phone all the time, so. Why did the Star Citizen cross the road to poop on the other side? Keck, poop. I'll take pooping for 100. I agree, this is supposed to be an escape from reality, not real life. Yeah, I mean, this is not to say that there isn't a call for complex gameplay and for time sinks. I don't think that's a bad thing. I'm just worried that there are people who have the wrong idea for the game in terms of their experiences or their expectations. And I don't want that to come across where, like, because saw plenty of people who were interested in doing medical in Star Citizen who got super disappointed when they saw the first edition of medical system, because they were like, this is nothing. This is point laser at thing and hit button. And, you know, it's hard to explain that, like, it's going to get a little bit more complex than this, but it's not going to get much more complex than this. Like, if you look at medical system in Star Citizen as it is right now, I think what you'll likely see is more medicines, maybe some slightly different tools for specific things, but I wouldn't expect it to be any more than the medical systems and some of the Arma mods. You know, because it already has that, where you have scanning, you scan to see which part is damaged, then you figure out what's damaged, then you have your own, you can apply certain medicines to those areas to make it function. It's just not tuned in right quite yet. We need more lasers. Again, I don't mind the laser gameplay. I actually kind of prefer it over what people were like hoping for, because it helps. Overall, it helps the ease of gameplay. I'm saying more lasers. Give me more lasers. Laser Citizen. Laser poop. The topic of how much immersion is too much. Built in the alien back scratching posts. Too much or just enough? It's just flair. Like, that's the thing. Like, I think a lot of people assume that every single thing in Star Citizen is going to be usable and have a purpose. And the answer is no. Some of this stuff is just for aesthetics, and toilets are just for aesthetics. They did say that they want to do shower things, but I wouldn't expect it to be more than just a walk in, turn on, shower, and watch your hygiene meter drop. You know, so you don't smell everybody. All the new whole P is just a trailer truck with porta potties. I want DCS level of flight operations manual for every ship and vehicle in Star Citizen. That is too much, Bree. I don't think you need a DCS level flight control operations manual. That would make this game far too complicated for to play for your average person. I don't disagree that every switch and button in the cockpit needs to have some sort of interaction or toggle and have some sort of purpose, but I think going to the degree of having to like pre-prime your engines and like turn off and on the the rattler warming up system, and repriming the ignition gauntlet, and tweaking the warble knob to make it more warbly. Like that shit's stupid. Like it's far too complex for the sake of complexity. Does it make sense to have an auto turn on sequence and a manual turn on sequence? Yes, but the manual turn on sequence should be 3 or 4 buttons. Yeah. And the thing is that there's plenty of people who backed Star Citizen with the concept that that was what Star Citizen was, that it was going to be DCS in space, because they saw the term space sim and thought that that was just flight sim, and didn't know that historically space sims are not the same as flight sims. Because Chris Roberts has been out of the game for at that point he was out of the game for 15 years, so he hadn't realized that there's a new kind of sim sort of revolution in that sense. I thought X3 was more DCS in space. X3 is not really DCS in space. You don't really have that much control over your ships in X3. But what do you mean it's total weak sauce? You can disagree with me all you want, but that's not fun. It's fun for DCS players, and I'm sure there's lots of people who want one-to-one realistic physics in Star Citizen, but that's not fun for the majority of gameplay. This isn't DCS. It never was DCS. Can you point to me where they said that it was going to be DCS in space? Because I never saw anything about it saying DCS in space. They've said things like, for instance, an auto turn-on system versus a manual turn-on system. They've said things like having more complexity with gameplay than just simple systems, but they also said they wanted to have automated systems for players who just wanted to start up and play the game. DCS, I don't remember what it stands for, but it's a flight sim game where there are individual planes and vehicle like helicopters and such that you can purchase. It's called DCS World, I think, but you can buy the individual planes and then kind of fly them around in multiplayer or single player. That's true. They never said it's not DCS. Stands for Digital Combat Simulator. Okay. Thank you. It was never pitched as DCS in space. It was pitched as having levels of control that was beyond what Chris Roberts had done in the past, with stuff he wanted to do, but still having the easy mode for players who just wanted to get started. Everyone's like, Digital Combat Simulator. Okay, I get it. That's the name of it. I didn't know what its term was. I'm concerned about how long it will take to get in and play with regards to immersion. Given a normal person's busy schedule, some people who want to play might not have the time to sink into play. That's the thing, is there's enough time sinks in the game as it is that you don't need to have shit tons of other things to do for the sake of doing them. The big thing about DCS is that there's a button in the cockpit, you can click it and have a function. It's as close to the military simulation you can get without spending thousands to start your own military and buy one. I get it. It's that kind of tactile function thing. And I think Star Citizen wants to do that. But it's not going to be nearly as complicated as all of the details of a startup sequence for an F4 Phantom. You're not going to have that. Well, I think the time sinks will get adjusted. The question is it going to be worse or better? Well, as long as there's players giving feedback, they'll find out ways of making it worse or better. It's, as long as they're listening to us. It should be more than 3 switches. Nah, it should be like 3 switches. But I do think that if you can know the manual boot up sequence of your ship, then you should be able to take off faster than somebody who just auto starts it. And that's what CIG said from the very beginning, was that people who know how to do things manually or know all the ins and outs of their ships and knows the details will be able to have an advantage over people who are just using the autoplay functions, the basic stuff to be able to get up. CIG from the very beginning has said that they wanted to do easy to learn, hard to master. That's been the goal. Like, it's not DCS in space. It's at most Arma in space. Now, I do think that we'll see things like, for instance, as ship functions become more complicated, to start up your ship, you need to use fuel, and you'll need to inject fuel for a certain amount of fuel to start it up, and the auto sequence will just inject a certain amount of fuel. But if you know how to start your ship, you know the conditions it's in, you can just inject the right amount of fuel, and it'll get started. I don't think you're going to get too much complicated with that because there's too many variables for atmosphere, but like 0G Earth atmosphere, or like a no atmosphere, light atmosphere, medium atmosphere, heavy atmosphere. We'll have different types of like startup sequences per ship. And that's an easy thing to tweak in terms of just like how much fuel you need to give the engine before to the reactor to turn it on. Those sorts of things. I think you'll see complexity in there. Not necessarily 500 buttons, but sequences upon which you can rely on that will give you a consistent start or consistent control. Yeah, there definitely needs to be systems to support engineers, and I agree with that 100%. But I don't think the systems to support engineers have to be so complex that engineering has to require an actual engineering degree to play. That's not fun. Engineering in Star Citizen is going to be much more diagnosing the issue, figuring out what's wrong, than figuring a solution for the problem, which is why they have components and subcomponents. So an issue with a component that's damaged could be that a subcomponent got damaged, but you don't know about that because you only see a warning symbol that this component is damaged. Then you have to go back, manually inspect the component and see if it's just the component just got shot, or if there's a subcomponent. Then you have to open up the component, replace the subcomponent, put it back in, and put it back into place. That's a very simple process. But when you're being shot at, and that component is your shield like generator, then there's some fucking pressure there. You're not going to see anything like that, though, Bree. To start up my KA-50 attack chopper takes about 4 minutes and around 18 switch bob options. Not going to happen in Star Citizen. Not at all. Well, I get what you're saying about complex versus realistic mechanics. CIG doesn't understand active versus passive sensors. I think they do. I just don't think they're done yet. Because the sensor system that we have in Star Citizen right now is a legacy system. They've even talked about things like to a degree, there's some new systems in there, but like the new being able to use active versus passive, because before it was just passive all the time. And most of the active stuff is more of a pinging stuff and bringing up to building block standards and stuff like that. But now we're also seeing like long distance scanning going to be added in. That's just more of a get these basic things in and then kind of work them into place. That's just going to take some time. How do I feel about them adding ammo types? As long as the ammo types aren't a bajillion ammo types for the sake of a bajillion ammo types, I'm okay with it. As long as they have standard ammunition types, in terms of like sizes and such. Sensor rework is on the roadmap? Yeah. If they're adding derelict sites, when will they add ropes? That we need them to get into crashed buildings halfway sticking out of the ground. I don't know. I could see manual startup being more like a Vetol VR where there's 3 to 4 switches and it takes maybe 30 seconds. Yeah. I think the way you do the complexity to favor people who like to reward people who learn the game, to learn their ships, is you have some small variables and 3 to 4 switches to hit, which will take you 10 to 20 seconds to turn on the ship, versus somebody who just says, turn on ship, will take them 30 to 40 seconds or a minute. That makes sense. As long as you have an engaging button light up startup sequence where it's like do 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 womp 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 and a lot of noises and flashing colors, the person who's doing the auto sequence will be like, this is cool as fuck. And then when they realize that it takes fucking 40 seconds and they can die in 40 seconds, they'll want to learn how to auto start their ship or to manually start their ship. And they'll have to learn about adding the right amount of fuel to the reactor to get it started, which sequence to boot up first, that kind of thing. I wish they could elaborate more on those mechanics. Well, they can't really elaborate on those mechanics because they have to have them in the game. Like, we don't even have the full system of like the full damage system in the game yet. So I do feel like we're coming towards that point where the damage system is going to be finalized either this year or next year. And at that point, it is more of a, how to put this? CIG's running out of excuses to not deal with this because they're going to have to start dealing with it soon. I have cold and dark starts in flight sims. I don't think Star Citizen will ever get that complex. No. But I do think that, like, temperature or pressure will have a degree. So like a cold start in Star Citizen could be it would be like an amount of fuel you use and what you need to start. And every time you try to start let's start the reactor, for instance, because they've even showed that before, where you have to like inject fuel into the reactor, spark the reactor, light the reactor, and then kind of light everything up after that. So you have to have some fuel to start your reactor in the first place, which makes sense. Right now, it doesn't really work like that. And I could see variables in terms of how much fuel you push into the reactor, whereas if you push too little, it doesn't spark and it wastes all the fuel. So having conditions upon which the reactor can start, just a handful, like 3 to 5. So I'm in the middle of space and I'm trying to restart my reactor. I need to add 7 liters of fuel, not 4, because this thing's going to need to burn for longer to turn back on. Something like that. Didn't they say a cold rover would be harder to start? Yeah. They've talked about this kind of stuff before. Will there be corn in game? That's a good question. I don't know. Hey, based on Squadron 42 stuff, how many star systems do you think are already completed? 2. Stanton and hit something. Stanton and Orion. I think there are other partially completed systems, which are more set pieces than systems. Oh, Odin, not Orion. Odin. Let's just suffice to say that I and many folks like me are proponents of increased immersion over easy, stupid mode for dum-dums. As somebody who doesn't want DCS in space, I take offense to that. And me and more of the people on my side agree that we shouldn't overcomplicate things for the sake of complicating things. It's not good. Here's a couple of unpopular opinions, which are just people are gonna have to deal with. This game is not going to be heavily PvP. PvP is there. It's part of the game. CIG should and does, I think, recognize that. But PvP is not going to be the main player base of this game. Hands down, not going to happen. It's not how games like this work. The combat sims and all that kind of stuff are going to be complex, but they're never going to be so complex that a average player cannot get a handle of it and function with it and do well with it within the first 2 or 3 hours of them playing the game if they're really dedicated to it. It's going all right, yeah. What was the last one I was going to say? Oh yeah, piracy is not going to be player based. I think most player pirates will not be pirating other players. They'll be pirating NPCs. The most of this game, you're going to be dealing with NPCs, not players. That kind of goes along with the PvP stuff, but a pirate doesn't necessarily mean a PvPer. So the reality is that this game is going to be heavily influenced by the NPCs. And you're never going to see the level of complexity, not just in combat, but in all of the systems that is going to make this realistic. Because realism is kind of stupid. Realism for the sake of realism, is, as I keep coming back to, complexity does not make a good gameplay mechanic. Complexity just adds complexity. It has to be engaging, it has to be fun, it has to have a purpose. PvP will be the future? No, PvP is not the future. I like PvP. I know it's popular on Twitch. I know it's like a attention grabber. I know it'll get a ton of content on YouTube and it'll get a lot of eyes on the game. But Star Citizen's not a PvP game. At its core, it's a open world game with PvP in it. The majority of the time you'll be dealing with other NPCs, not players. It's just right now they can't afford to put the NPCs in. And even now, most of the time, to make the most money, it's not to hunt players, it's to hunt NPCs. 100 to 1, I think was the rule. 100 and one NPC to every, or one player to 100 NPCs to one player. What is Twitch? It's a horrible site. Don't go there. Look at Scum's nutrition mechanic. It's so complex, it's awful, which is the reason why very few people really play Scum in the same way that you'd want people to play Star Citizen. 9 to 1. Oh, it's 9 to 1, not 10 to 1 or 100 to 1. There's a point where immersion is stupid. Yeah, that's my point. That was the whole thing with if you're watching this on YouTube, that's why the title is there, is that immersion is fine and it's good until you get to the point of immersion and complexity for the sake of immersion and complexity, and then it actually detracts from the gameplay. So flushable toilets, please. I mean, we're talking about realism in a sci-fi universe. It doesn't make me wonder about food and water, whether it's strictly necessary. Well, I know why they do food and water. I mean, people can people have an opinion on whether it should result in death or not. But because it was originally pitched as it wasn't going to cause death, it was just going to cause like worsening state of like delirium, unable to like essentially what the drunk state is right now. But instead they decided it was just going to kill you. But the purpose of food and water in that kind of stuff is to add layers to the waiting. Like I talked about this before, where Star Citizen's main gameplay is not space combat, it's not mining, it's not bounty hunting, it's not medical, it's none of that. Star Citizen's main content is interactions with other players. The rest of that is just tools for the main content, which is interaction with other players. Now, I think CIG is basing most of this off of play with other people, not against them, but you could also play against them. And as a result, one of the ways you can get players to come together is food and water, and requiring that sort of thing. Because if you're sitting around waiting for your ship to get unloaded at a dock, and you realize that your food and hunger meter is just kind of low and your next mission is going to take you pretty far, you might stop by a diner or a bar or whatever to have a little bit of a better meal that will then increase that hunger and thirst, so it won't drop down as fast. And there you might meet another player and they might get to talking and those sorts of things. That's the point. The point of that isn't just immersion, roleplay. It's like to get players to similar locations to have them interact with one another. It's gameplay. Opening doors and calling out areas is too immersive. Oh God, thank you for $5 there. Buzakan. Someone's asking, I'm trying to return to the game for the first time since 2020. Apparently I need more than 16 gigabytes now. No, you just need 16 gigabytes. More is better, but 16 is the minimum. We'll be able to select types of toilet paper. God damn it. Do PvPs last 10 years? Yeah, they do. Like, there's plenty of games out there, more games that focus on PvE last longer than PvP. That's not to say that PvP is bad, but like I said, Star Citizen is not based on solely PvP. It's a mixed experience with heavily relying on PvE as the main content. PvP being a type of content that you can get in very specific locations where it's the most available. But that's kind of like, PvP is kind of like raid boss style, you know. It's going to require a lot of preparation and a lot of planning, because most PvPers are going to be like, I'm the best pilot in the universe. They're going to walk into a place like Pyro, and they're going to get absolutely smacked by a bunch of lower skilled players that have numbers on them. And they're like, this is ridiculous. This is unbalanced. It's like, of course it's not fucking balanced. You're just going to lose if you're fighting like 10 people in multiple ships while you're flying around in your Hornet. You're gonna get fucking owned. That's how that works. Doesn't matter how good fucking pilot you are, you're gonna die. And that's kind of we're going to see in there. Coordinated groups is counterbalance. Yeah, that's I agree, but like it's not. You can't gameplay balance like more players than you. How do I imagine the current jail system could be fixed? More options and more interactions. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Jail is not a punishment. It shouldn't be a punishment. And if it's a punishment, it's a bad punishment because it doesn't work. No one's going to jail in Star Citizen, going to prison, going to Kleischer in Star Citizen and being like, I should no longer PvP. They're just going to log out and get into their alt and go PvP some more. Like, what Kleischer is an opportunity for players who play that side of the law to increase their reputation. That's what it should be. It should be a reputation boost. It's going to slow down your progress. It's going to make you not have the kind of fun you're necessarily wanting to, but it'll open up other avenues for you in the long run. The way I would fix prison is simple. Add more reputation to mission givers in those prisons. Maybe even just simplified ones that are just gang leaders in there that correspond with actual like criminal organizations out in the verse. Giving you missions to do various activities for them to gain reputation with them, which may also increase your time in jail, or other special missions like breaking somebody out because they're about to be executed or moved to another location, so on and so forth. Adding more options than just mining. When we have salvage coming in, add a salvage mechanic where you can go to salvage. I am a big proponent of suicide squads, where like if you're an FPS player and you want to get out of prison faster, then cool. Here's your gun with one magazine. Here's your pistol with one magazine. There's a bunch of criminals in this bunker. You and your friends are going to go clear it out. If you die, you die. If you live, we knock your sentence off and you're free to go. Fun gameplay that people will play. That kind of thing. And that's not like too immersive or anything. That's just gameplay. That just adds stuff that's already in the game, using the mechanics they already have. Many people who complain that their Gladius can't take down a fully manned Redeemer is way too high. Also, if anything, amount of times randomly dying Star Citizen is actually incredibly realistic, since falling downstairs / through a floor is a major cause of death for about 12,000 people dying each year due to the stairs. Thank you for the bits. Makes me wonder how many people die in Orison each day due to lack of railings. Probably a lot. One concern, should all of these alpha reputations reset before beta release, and do we start over? Or are these minor reps in a greater societal scheme? I think they'll probably reset, but we're definitely going to see more complex reputation. I think reputation is going to be a system that's not just good guy and bad guy. It's going to be, as we can already see with like Crusader, you can do Crusader security. You can do Crusader like contractors. There's like 3 or 4 different Crusader reputations that are separate from one another because you get them for different activities. I think you'll see something like that. You'll see divisions in companies which you'll have a higher reputation with than the overall company because you work with that division more. You know, it would make no sense for the guy in the security division to know who the fuck you are if you work with the science division all the time. You know? He said beta, yeah. Charges need to be more clear. My first time in prison, I had no idea what I had I had no idea that it was only 15 minutes, so I stayed longer than I had to. Yeah, there needs to be some clarification on some of that stuff. Gameplay shouldn't require IRL training in order for player to be effective. That's true, but I do think that IRL training should make it easier for you to succeed at that task. You hear that Pad Rammer 69420 is getting out of the hole tomorrow? Oh yeah, for real? I saw him there when he was serving my nickel. I thought I was only supposed to be there for 2 weeks. Yeah, he pants some guards on the way out, so he got sentenced doubled. That kind of stuff's okay. The first time I tried to escape from prison, I got beat up by 2 girls in the tunnels. The first time in prison, it was crime stat 3, and I got doing illegal monitor missions. Not bad, yeah. Having no idea in jail is sim as fuck. Well, as the legal system becomes more complex and they add things like downstates more and having NPCs being able to do that kind of stuff more, you'll see more of that complexity added to the game. Hey, James. Do you think the Suicide Squads is why the Cutlass Steel was developed? Yes. Please. I just think it was a cool idea. You know? I'm also a big fan of Red Dwarf, and it'd be a great little Red Dwarf reference. I can't remember which season that was in. Was it like 7? Where like you could go do away, like the prisoners on the Red Dwarf could go do away missions to various like derelicts and then get some of their sentence knocked down or get extra privileges and such. I like that idea. I thought it was a cool like little ad, and it'd be a nice little nod towards that. So prison should have mission givers and contracts for future jobs. It should be an addition to the criminal experience. Will they add space lawyer as a profession? No, I hope not. God, no. That's an example of way too much immersion. Like, no one needs to, you don't need to have fucking legal cases in Star Citizen. That doesn't make any goddamn sense. Yeah, prison NPCs recruiting for criminal organizations. Exactly. Will I be able to have visitations with the rest of my org while in prison? That's a good question. I don't think you'll be there long enough for it to matter, but yeah, you probably should. You'd be able to. PvPers won't go PvP for a reputation system. They'll do steal from other players simply for a fun of ruining someone else's free time. Yes, but here's the problem with that, Legion, is that if someone is just running around fucking with other players for the sake of fucking other players, the reputation is going to get down into the dumps. They're going to get into the dirt. And as the reputation system is going to control things like access to landing zones, access to other stuff in general, like being able to buy certain things, being able to do certain things. And if your reputation is so tanked with everybody, then no one's going to work with you, so you're not going to get money, which means that you can't land anywhere, which means that you're going to have a hell of a time trying to repair and keep your ship up. And if that's the point where you're just like, hey, I'm just going to die and reset, then you lose reputation and you lose money, because every time you reset as a characterist, every time you do the final death sort of thing, and you have to respawn a new character, well, you're going to lose the reputation, but you're also going to lose a bunch of wealth. And eventually, you'll get to the point where you'll broke and you have maybe a ship to start, but that's it. And you're just restarting with nothing, and you have no means to protect yourself. Eventually, that'll become just disincentivized where it's just not fun. And you're just going to get absolutely kicked to shit by other players. Prison should be a doorway to just as much gameplay opportunity as any other thing you do in the game. As you said, it should be fun, and the time should be time should be the punishment. Yeah, time is the punishment, but you should still have other things you can do. Thanks to the Twitch Prime for 31 months. Redeemer is a good ship. Works the best as the best drop ship since seats don't matter. Fuck the Redeemer. Where's my conjugal visit, CIG? Can't wait for some advocacy FBI/CIA type suits for rep. Yeah, that's going to happen too. It's not prison, a cup of noodles or honey buns. Hopefully, rep will start impacting NPC pirates and marauders too. Someone that's just blowing up ships and killing for other people's livelihoods too. Yeah, so that's the thing is like Star Citizen and CIG's even said this. They have the ability, or are planning to have, I think, yeah, they said they have the ability. They have the ability to section people who are just killing for the sake of killing into their own instances. Their own shards. They have made not so subtle hints that they will start pushing players who are killing other players for fun into shards that are just for other players who are looking to kill other players for fun. Hey, Toy, how you doing, buddy? Now, does that mean that it's actually going to happen or that's fully planned? No idea. That was mentioned years ago. Question is, more tech comes online, i.e. localized inventory, the more time sinks compound just from getting from point A to point B. What are some areas they could scale back time sink? Elevator ride lengths? I don't think they're going to scale back much. I think what's going to happen is some of that time sink issue is a lot of the time sinks and other issues have to do with jank. For instance, right now to spawn a ship, you have to get out of bed, you have to go down to the docking port, you have to access the ASOP, you have to spawn that ship, you have to take the elevator down and get in the ship and fly. I think once we start seeing persistence and persistent hangars, you'll wake up in a persistent hangar with your ship right there, send it off to the zone and go there and fly. There's like, it'll cut out like a good 5 or 6 minutes of travel just for doing that sort of thing. We're going to get more extended time sinks because you're going to also have to do loading and unloading of things, but that's actual gameplay. Like physically moving stuff is part of the gameplay. It's not great, but it works, and it's part of you interacting with the game. I like waiting on trains, though. That's the thing, is in the future, in Star Citizen, if you want to rent an apartment in, say, Lorville, you'll be able to. And spawn there instead of spawn at your hangar. And then you can take the trains and kind of do what you want to if you want to have that more of immersion. But is there currently a reputation metric for those players that just kill other players for fun? I don't think there's a metric for it, but I know they track it. CIG has all of that metrics tracked, so they know those sorts of things. PvP, I'm thinking, is more like dogfighting tourney, a $1,000 buy-in, winner takes all. I could see stuff like that. I think PvP, you will see PvP in the sense of like raids for like a big organization controls an area. You might see another smaller organization pop in attack that organization, maybe try to steal a ship or try to break into a station or into a base and take something and leave. Maybe not control it, but like pinpoint strikes to disorient people and get out. Or you'll see big wars, orgs going to war over resources or specific locations for specific reasons. And you'll see local fighting over little things. But I don't think you're going to see PvP as much in Stanton. You'll see it in places like Pyro, maybe in Nyx. But because CIG is trying to like push those sorts of players into those regions by making it easier to do those sorts of actions there. So... weren't there also some not-so-veiled threats about players and orgs that are constantly griefing, receiving visits from the UEE Navy and the Vanduul Fleet? That's given. CIG has basically said if they don't want to prevent players from going GTA, you know, trying to see if you can get the highest crime stat you can and then just seeing how long you can survive, they don't want players not to do that, but they do want players to suffer the consequences for doing that consistently. And that's calling in the Navy and other things like that if they want to. And that's already that's designed as part of the Quanta system. And it won't just be the Navy; it'll also be NPC factions. Like if you're in Pyro, just fucking everything that moves, eventually you're going to piss off the wrong faction, and they'll send people after you. Will I be at the Daymar rally this year? No, sadly I won't be. I screwed up and scheduled Captain's Table for that day, and I usually don't. And I was like, whatever, it's a new player, and we'll kind of do it. This is my first Daymar rally where I'm just going to kind of take a back seat, and we'll raid them after our Captain's Table and that kind of stuff, but it's good. That's what I mean by PvP will be preferred game play in the future. I don't think it'll be the preferred gameplay. I think it'll be a gameplay that is utilized by players in very specific locations that are very high value. But I think most players won't participate in it. Most players will only ever deal with other players as cooperative experience. I see what you did there, Real NetX. Question: what multi-crews are in deep space exploration? Well, when multi-crew is in deep space exploration, how will players who don't own the ship bedlog in and continue flying the ship? They've talked about a permission system where if you have permissions to control that ship at a certain level, then when everyone bedlogs, the ship will then disappear in deep space. And then when the first person who is in that ship logs back in, they'll log back in and the ship will pop back into reality with all of the other players still in their beds. And then whoever that person is can then control the ship. Similar to like party permissions now. Hey, Shipbox, how you doing, buddy? I can't wait for org versus org battles. I'm going to sit back in my vulture and then jump in when things start getting quieting down and snack me some sweet interests. I think a lot of people are going to have that idea and they're going to fight each other for it. It'll be a jump town all over again. Are player developed / built settlements like old stars? Yes. I don't know if it's going to be exactly like that, but CIG has straight up already sold a ship and land claims that are designed to build outposts. It's called the Pioneer. So player-owned and built settlements is a thing. We don't know what degree that'll look like or what kind of styles they'll be or what kind of amounts they can build. But from the looks of things, yeah, that's the plan. Thoughts on loading forklifts? We'll have we have carts. Yeah, we'll have forklifts. We'll have like hover dollies and forklifts and stuff like that. I think we'll have it in game. I just think that we don't need that until like full on stuff is in game. and like full on loading and unloading mechanics. And even then, once you have that, you just need tractor beams. Like when we have the full physicalized cargo bays, we'll also have tractor beams added in. I think that's almost guaranteed to go alongside with one another. Max, thanks so much for that Twitch Prime sub for 33 months. Happy New Year. 2000 Astropup. It's 2020. It's 2020. All right, that's 2020. God damn, it's 2022. My brain should no work. Your stream is as always good to listen. Continue your great work with your beautiful voice. Oh, thank you, Max. Oh God, I can just imagine waking up and finding out that the one crew member who has been told never to pilot the main ship is at the helm seconds before you meteor into a surface of a moon. Yeah. My biggest concern with loading cargo is that it takes a while for small crates. I'd love to be able to buy goods and by container rather than per SCU to help speed up things. I think that's the plan. That's like, even now they have the larger pallets, not the tiny, like the one boxes, but like the medium pallets. They're in game now for certain things. And I think there's a bigger container for ships. Like when your ship explodes, it leaves behind a ship box, as we've been calling it. That ship box has everything that was inside that ship. That's the container that you can do. And you just can't control it with, I think, your current gravity, the current tractor beams on the multi-tool. You can't do it, but you're going to have a bigger tool that you can use. I think longtime backers should get gifted a land claim beacon for Luminalia or something, but claims all get wiped upon full release. I think that's going to happen anyways. Claims are going to get wiped full release. It's important to remember that land claims are not required to build stuff. Land claims are only something you can use in UE controlled space. So it's effectively like controlling a plot of yellow. You know, it's not going to be used for, you can't really control land claim areas that are not in UE control space. Made your wife to get a haircut? No, I made me get a haircut. I was tired of having the fucking hair. I feel so much lighter now. Question, let's say I have a privateer or BMM. Will I be able to sell arms and weapons as a private citizen, or will I be able to buy weapons from designated outlets? I think you'll be able to sell. The CIG seems to indicating that, like, if you have a brand new merchantman or privateer, you can buy and sell stuff from those locations, like even to NPCs. For the Pioneer, they have the Rastar system, which they use to make the outposts. They have flat out said they're going to make that player usable. Suggest that maybe the Pioneer will do that. Yeah, I think that's definitely... Well, the Pioneer, they've even said, is not really a building. It's not like a constructor. It's more like a 3D printer with the plans for various outposts. So it works as more like as a mobile fabricator than it does as a mobile construction ship. Yeah, look at Adorbs. Thank you. They're smaller than 32 containers, too. I think the 16 SCU containers, yeah, I think there's some smaller ones as well. Just use more lube. Ah, yes. Forklift simulator coming soon. Yeah. I don't think we'll see forklifts until, like, well after a lot of the other stuff is in. Because that sort of thing makes sense for the game. Like, when controlling large pallets of stuff, moving that in and out is important. Like, trying to unload a Crusader, you're going to need, a Hercules. You're probably going to need something like a hover dolly or a forklift of some kind to be able to pick those big pallets up and move them, because it's much more efficient than trying to hand tractor things around. Did I see something? How are you? I'm okay with selling guns. Just checking everyone. I've been around a long time. I'm doing good, Toys. It's good to see you back, Muddy. I'm exhausted. COVID sucks. I don't have COVID, but like it sucks for everybody. My biggest concern with loading cargo is that it takes a while for small. Oh yeah. Yeah, I think we already talked about that. I thought I saw something about where are the persistent hangars? Where there are persistent hangars, or when there are persistent hangars, what do you think will happen if another system and you park in your ship? And you park your ship. Oh, you're talking about like if you park your ship in a hangar in another system, you have to pay a hangar fees, unless it's a free hangar you have that you can establish there. Thank you for that, Buck99. The Redeemer's the best ship in the game. Got him. Oh, Dex. It's terrible. But thank you for your money. What cap ship do you think they will bring in the game next? Either the Polaris or the Perseus. But the Perseus isn't really a cap ship, so Polaris. Hopefully the forklifts lying around about are the sign of NPCs will help cargo. I think that's the plan, that the NPCs will help cargo. We just don't know when. I don't doubt that they have the ability to program the NPCs right now to do that sort of action. But the question is that efficient on the servers? And I think by the time we get to that point, we'll probably see. But yeah, Nautilus 2. Crane gameplay. Are we talking about the raft again? The raft is the crane gameplay. I really want to see the Genesis in game for the next few years. I'd like to see it too. Perseus is going to be my Rocinante. Perseus is going to be probably my favorite combat ship. Just because it's my style. Big, dumb, tough, overpowered, tons of weapons. Not like overpowered weapons, but like just enough to piss people off. You don't want to be on my Perseus unless you want to get into the teeth of bullshit. Because I will fly that thing into the middle of combat, firing all guns away. It's with me in the Perseus, every battle is Taffy 3. The tin can battleships or whatever. Tin can destroyers. Off-topic question. Does CIG intend to return Vetol engines to being gimbaled like the original Cuddies were in Star Citizen 1X? No. You can actually gimbal the engines now with Vetols, but I don't think they're going to be super Vetoled like that. I think that's done with because they had too many problems with a flight model like that. Notice how like the Freelancer doesn't do the full gimbal like it was supposed to. USS Johnston? Yes, exactly. I'd like to see the Tumbrel Ranger added. Yes, I'd like to see the Tumbrel Ranger added as well. I'm going to go exploring for jump points in my Perseus, because I can. Do you think we'll get Pyro by the time the Corsair comes out in Q3, I think? We'll get Pyro when we get... Pyro will come out the same time as server meshing. Static server meshing. I have to clarify that because someone got actually'd me in the comments last time and said actually static server meshing is separate from dynamic server meshing. And I know that's not the point. There's actually not much of a difference between static and dynamic. There is a huge difference, but in terms of functionality for all of the different like mechanics, it's not that much different as far as I can tell. The dynamic thing is more on the server side of things rather than on the gameplay side of things. It will help with gameplay, but it's much more of a server upgrade. The actual tech of being able to mesh servers together and getting players to fly between them seamlessly, that is going to be the real challenge. To be able to spin up and spin them down is more of working on technology to make that function properly and like analyze the situation and stuff like that. The tools for that. What do I think the Polaris will be next? Because the Polaris has been on the roadmap, off and on the roadmap a lot for being under construction. So I think the Banu Merchantman, which is actively in production right now, that's going to be the next ship. Next big ship. And I think after that, we'll see the Polaris and either the Perseus or the Nautilus after that. I feel like they set themselves up at IAE for Pyro, going to come after CitizenCon. Yeah, I think that's a good guess. I think CitizenCon or IAE is when they're thinking about having server meshing out, or at least around that. When do you think we'll be able to buy the Banner Merchantman again? Alien Week, June. After Invictus. That's when you're going to get it. Oh my God, I'm sorry for server meshing. Playing on servers late at night when there are only 20 people, such a positive experience server resource wise. Plus being able to see the numbers of people like IAE. Oh my God, yes, please. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I think server meshing is going to be... I'm expecting it to be super rough. It probably is not going to be as rough as I think it is. But I think it's going to be more rough than people are ready for. But yeah. Every piece of garbage and debris was physicalized, the servers would catch on fire. Yes, but that's the reason why you need server meshing. Because if you have server meshing, you can do a little bit more of those garbage and debris because, you can make Loreville its own server. There's a lot of stuff in Loreville, but not as much. Right now, everything in Loreville is being rendered along with everything else in the system on one server. So if you minimize that down to just Loreville, you can add a lot more entities to that instance, to that server, than you can with you could if everything was in that same server, which will then increase the amount of stuff you can put in, which is one of the reasons why a lot of gameplay and a lot of actions are just limited right now, because they just have too many entities that they have to spawn in. And they have to take into account the fact that if there are 50 players on a server and in 50 different locations in the server, then the server has to render all of those 50 locations for all of those players. And it's limited because of things like the renderer and other things like that as well. So there's just a lot of shit that needs to get finished before we can start seeing the gameplay that CIG wants to make added in. That's why you don't have Daymar anymore. Yeah. Yeah, because it couldn't support Daymar and Crusader. Garbage has been picked up by sweeper drones, critters, and other homeless NPCs. Yeah, they won't physicalize every piece of garbage and leave it there forever. They'll have a timer on that at some point where it just disappears because of quanta. Taking elevators with thousands of people is going to be rough as fuck. Yeah, that's the reason why for those of you who've been around long enough, this is going to sound weird, but if you remember corridors, landing corridors, you're an old citizen now. There are people who've been playing Star Citizen for over a year who don't remember landing corridors. Who probably don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Lucky them. That's one of the reasons why I think that landing corridors are a good thing. Because they will help sort people from trying to fly in, so you don't have 100 people trying to land at Loreville at once, because that would be a nightmare. I just don't think we should instantly control or kill you by not hitting that corridor. I think what it should be is corridor shows up, that's your angle, you fly in through that corridor. If you're a little bit off, you get a message being like, hey, straighten it up a little bit, or something like that. Or if you hit the corridor, you can say, take the wheel, and then have Jesus fly you in, have Jesus fly you in and land you, that kind of thing. I remember when all you had was a hangar and the flight sim machine to PvP, nowhere to go or anything. I remember that as well. Yeah. Hey, now this is fighting words. It's just the reality. Star Citizen is 10 years old, and anybody who's been here for more than 3 is a veteran citizen now. Period. There's just a lot of new people who've jumped in the last 2 years. Yeah, I'm talking about the tunnel thing. Is a glide path, yeah. Something, because you're going to need it when you have 100 people trying to land in one location. So you're going to need some sort of ATC to take over, which is one of the reasons why they're working on the ATC system right now. It's one of the things they're doing on the big stuff. So I want the helmet flip and the helmet clip. Being able to clip our helmets to our waistband was a good idea. 8 years ago yesterday for you. Yeah. Whew. You're a noob citizen. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of new people. Like, it's no shame on people who are brand new to Star Citizen. It's just like those of us who've been around for fucking ever kind of remember these things. And a lot of people think that they're still new to the game when, like, they've been here a long time. Yeah, no, so, Roy, as I've said, I don't think the way that they implemented it should be the direct way of implementing it. More of a, it should show up where you can fly through. Not where if you just were 1 centimeter off, you're fucked, sort of thing. They need to do some better, like, heads-up stuff for it, like better HUD integration for it, but that's a different thing. You're going to watch the 2949 Armor Archetypes video, then bed. Have a good night there, Darsh. I feel old. I remember the hangar before the PTV, with the PTV and before the ship weapon the weapon test. I remember that rig. Seems like they need more UEC sinks. They do, and they probably will have them. We just don't have them in game yet. Question about the too much immersion subject. As a recent Reclaimer owner, do you think the claw is too complicated for CIG? Should they switch it to a tractor beam? I don't think it's too complicated, but I do think it's going to cause them more trouble. The rule of cools fucked them on that one. I think the claw stuff is just going to be more of a more automated. I think you'll have some sort of system where you can line up the controller and you hit the button and it slowly walks out and grabs it and pulls it up, sort of thing. I don't think it's going to be as. I think it'll basically be a tractor beam, but manual. Is how they'll probably do it. They'll probably reuse that system. Why don't you just use outer land if you can't find the pad and figure out where to go? I feel the HUD is too busy already. That's why you need like a landing HUD. Like I think that they need to use like what do they call it? There's a system that they call it. I can't remember the name of it. The claw. Instrument landing system. Yeah, something like that. But I mean, there's a system they call. It's like where you go from mining mode to scanning mode to missile operator mode. Operator mode. That's what it is. Operator modes. They've already started working on operator modes. They need to just diversify operator modes like crazy. Operator modes need to be everything. You need to have a navigation operator mode, a quantum operator mode, an ATC operator mode. Like all of these things need to be separate modes that you can flip around from. Yes, that's complicated. That's complex, but having essentially a system you can cycle through isn't too bad. That allows it to restrict the amount of busy, stupid stuff in your face to make it easier. The claw operator seat will be useless. Will be useless or mostly. I don't think it'll be useless. I think it'll be useful, but I think that claw operator seat is going to be mostly used for like as if it's a tractor beam. It's kind of the same idea. Yeah, you need like an engineering head, a HUD, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I think that's the idea. Operator modes will bring multiplayer to a new level. I think between new operator modes, building new operator modes, and fixing the current HUD systems or the MFDs we have now, that will be really the key for them to improving the gameplay. They also need an automated takeoff and landing mode. They need a handoff to the ATCs where they can land it for you. But I don't think like the whole them taking over your ship as you're trying to land, that's bullshit. I don't think that should happen. I think they should come over the comms and say, straighten up, left, right, up, down, whatever. Give you some directions if you're veering off course, but not like take over your ship. And I do think that once you get to that place where you have to hit a landing corridor, you can just tell ATC, be like, take me in, buddy. Just take me in. I don't want to deal with this. Because that makes a lot of sense. It allows for easier access to landing and taking off, but it also allows for players who know what they're doing to be able to do it, faster. Again, back to that whole have things which players can do well if they know what they're doing versus an automated system or a simple system that gets the job done, but it's not nearly as efficient. Operator modes would be great for cutting down on keybinds too. Exactly. It's a great way of simplifying keybinds, which is great for... I'm going to get yelled at for this. I'm building up the Antissa. Patient. It'll be great for this. Operator modes are the key to simplifying the game and making it more accessible for people like this. People who use things like this. I can already hear the shouts. I can feel the angry typing in the comment section on YouTube. I can feel your hate. Yes, feed me your hate. Strike me down and grow stronger. I thought Chris Roberts said no consoles. He said he doesn't want to make a game for consoles. He's never said that he won't make the game on consoles. The thing to be very clear about Chris Roberts' intentions with Star Citizen was he was tired of that. A lot of us were tired of it in the early 2010s, which was so many games that were being developed for console and then lazily ported to PC. Chris was a PC, evangelist. He thought it would be better to produce games for the PC and port them to console, not the other way around. And, back in 2012, consoles weren't as powerful enough for Chris Roberts' whole concept, but his whole vision. Now in 2022, that's very different. Consoles are effectively cut down gaming PCs. They run off of very similar architecture to most modern gaming PCs, including things like SSDs, which didn't exist in consoles until very recently. Yeah. So, you use lots of controller. I have a controller. I use this for driving because I don't have a wheel. I don't want to spend $400 for a wheel system, so this is easy. You want game rep that it's stored in in like a drawer and I rarely pull it out? Besides, there's plenty of console ports that I'd like. Entry-level PCs, yeah, they are. Question, when do you think Star Citizen will get VR support? Beta. Once Star Citizen can reach 120 frames per second or more with the right systems. Simplifying crane controls destroyed Mud Runner. Farming Simulator has a checkbox for simp controls. The Xbox One was literally a x86 system with AMD CPU. It's exactly like a PC with soldered on parts. Yeah, it's enough. He said beta. Yeah. Question, operator mode should be required for pooping? Yes, you need to have the pooping operator mode. I have both joystick and wheel, and sometimes I just use a controller. Yeah, I got twin joysticks. Like my main way of flying is joysticks. I got twin sticks. I got twin sticks and a G13. When's the last time you saw one of these bad boys? It's so dirty. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. Don't judge me. I don't know how to clean this. It was cheap. Is that even possible? Why isn't some of the immutable infrastructure cached on the player's PC to reduce the server load? That's a question to ask CIG, not me. I don't know if it's. I think that probably has more to do with server authenticate. They don't want to make the game PC or player heavy. They want to make most of the decisions, most of the authoritative server. They want to make it server authoritative, not player authoritative. So As a result, they want to move as many features off of the player as possible, except for just rendering the game. Isopropyl alcohol, Paul. I don't have isopropyl alcohol. You want to see red? Yeah, Dust for Days. Anyone should have enough isopropyl alcohol that it puts them on a watch list. Twin sticks, wheel and yoke, and pedals, all inputs. I just the pedals and wheel a wheel is super expensive, man. Like the cheapest intro set wheel is like $200. I just don't have that kind of money laying around. I think that this may have already been answered, but moving from alpha to beta and beta to release, when will they wipe everything or just some things? So, CIG has said that they said that they don't want to wipe. They want to, they'll only wipe when they absolutely have to. Either exploits or just new systems. Like, I expect the next big wipe to come in when they have at least the first major implementation of the Quanta system. I know Quanta's in the game now. It's not fully into the game now. It's not fully integrated into how the game should supposed to work. When that happens, I fully expect there to be a wipe for reputation, credits, everything. And I think the next wipe after that will be once we see the game go into full beta. And I think at some point in beta, they will wipe and then say it's the last wipe. We're not planning on doing any wipe. Once they've nailed everything down and the game would effectively be released, they will do a soft launch. And I still believe that the reason why they'll do a soft launch is because of the possible legal lawsuits or legal trouble they can get themselves into with their promises. Because on Kickstarter, they said that they would release the game with 100 systems. So if they release the game with 5 systems, release the game with 5 or 6 systems, most people really wouldn't care because, that's plenty of systems. But if they release the game with 5 or 6 systems, people would just slap lawsuits on them saying that they lied, and they didn't achieve their one, and they want their money back or whatever. Because there's a segment of the population of this game which is unhealthy and has an unhealthy obsession with Star Citizen, really unhealthy, and that section will do anything they can to hurt the game and the game developers because they can. They don't really care about the game. They don't really care about the progress in the game. They just want to make someone bleed. That's just the reality. And so it makes more sense for CIG to go into still in beta, but stop wiping, effectively do a soft launch. And then when they reach the point where they were supposed to be actually launched, they'll have some big release party. But, it's similar to things like they did with Kerbal. Well, not Kerbal, because Kerbal didn't have the progressive, that kind of stuff. They've done some other things like that. Other games have done stuff like that. CIG wants pooping, not wiping. Exactly. I bought my Warthog HOTAS, but only use the stick with the keyboard, obviously. But the throttle just takes too much deck space for what it does. Yeah. Does Quanta actually control everything right now? Quanta doesn't control everything. It controls commodity prices, is what it does. Still using a Logitech X52, and it's not broken? I used to have an X52 and it broke within the first 6 months of me having it. I love the game, just need a PC to play it. Hey man, you're plenty good shape. Wait till you get a nice PC, buy the PC, not for Star Citizen, but just for niceties when you get that money, and then play Star Citizen. Because that probably, I don't know how long it'll take you. It could take you a couple months, could take you a year, 2. Star Citizen's still going to be here, still under development for a while. I use a yoke, probably not ideal. Yoke is fun, though. Yoke is fun. That's to me, that's that's a level of immersion that I could get behind, especially if you're like a freelancer pilot and you've got a yoke. That's because it's got a yoke on it. So it makes it feel more like real. The next big wipe won't come when the pooping mechanic comes in. No, they don't wipe when you poop. You got to take a shower after that. That's why it's called what do they call it? The shoilet? Is that what do they call it? The shoilet? The shower toilet combo? That's why it's there. So when you poop, you don't wipe. You just get the shower right there. Did anyone talk about the Squadron 42 years away? Oh, yeah, let's talk about that. Because, first of all, if you're new here, hi, I'm Paul. I've been saying that Star Citizen's or Squadron 42 is not coming out for another 2 years since, October of last year. Probably since before that, I think. For a while. 2023 was when I said it was going to come out. And so far, I'm right. And it's also important to keep this in a context. What was said in that interview was that they're shooting for the game to release, for Squadron 42 to come out within a year or two. We don't know when that interview was done. My guess is that interview was done at the end of 2021. And probably around the same time as all that PR press came out for their new studio, which was like in October or November. It might have been in September. I don't remember exactly. But probably around then. So, best case scenario, it would come out in September or October of this year. Not going to happen because we don't see this. The progress isn't there. If you follow the progress tracker that they released for Squadron, but Squadron coming out in 2023, like November, December of 2023, that seems about reasonable. I have a full-fledged cockpit with G29 wheel and pedals along with an X52 HOTAS. I know, it's rock solid even after hours of playing War Thunder in VR. Damn, that's insane. My thing broke almost immediately. I feel like I want to shower each time I poop. This is the future, UB. You have to shower and poop at the same time. This is tradition. Hi, Roy. You were here. You've been here for a while. What are you talking about? The William Shatner. Hey, Hagauki. Salutations says, hey, Halo. The live verse will get so many more players when the game is finally out. We can combine it together. Yeah. Think of that, the cheers there, Astro. To the person who uses the yoke, I use 2 balls like the Car2 at all in my pilot and my freelancer. I have a extra pair as well. Thus, I'm actually capable of going full Char Azenball with the Gimbaled would let me. Nice. I have an X52 Pro and still rock the thing. I'll switch to VKBs once it dies. Fingers crossed, another year or so. Yeah, I use T16000Ms. They work for what they need to be done. What needs to be done. I wish more people did office hours format stuff. It's a treasure trove for answers for us noobs. I mean, I didn't start this. Board Gamer started doing this kind of stuff, and I thought it was a good idea. And me being a lore guy, I thought like we could talk about content, but we could also talk about lore. Thank you for that, giving that sub to Adelphia there, my man. Happy Thursday, Paul, in chat. When the new haircut and trim look good. Thank you, SFX. I feel like a lighter person, even though I'm still fat. Yeah, but Paul is Paul, and that's why we're here. Yeah. Hopefully I engage and entertain you, even if I insult you sometimes. I just realized it's not the X52. I have an X56, but yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, the X56 was a little bit better. You can't watch Board. To each their own. Board's fine. I like Board. He's a good guy. I really like when Board is on another person's channel, like talking to another person, he really lets loose, which is great. And I love to see Board letting loose. I feel like when he's doing his own channel, he can kind of get a little bit self-conscious and kind of into his own zone. So, has our Emperor made new statements, or is she in the basement? What are you talking about, Roy? I'm confused about what you've been saying. You need the obligatory fuzzy dice if you fly freelancer too. Yes. Thank you for that Twitch Prime sub of 4 months. Hey, Dreg, how you doing, buddy? Compared to Addison, she hasn't made any statements yet. No. Who did all your graphics art for your channel, Paul? It's very good. Combination. This was made by this right here. This scene was created by Darionator. This whole thing was him. I mean, I still have this is mine. I put that there, but you know, and this backdrop is a in-game screenshot from Haskaha. Fantastic dude. Lets me use some of the screenshots for stuff, which is nice. Let's see what else is there. Most of my other stuff, my starting ending screens, was done by another artist. Let me pull up her name. She's newish. Not newish, but like I found her through a few people who we just kind of like happened to connect at the right moment when I was looking for artists. Her name is Devora Johns. On Twitter, she's at Johns_Devora GFX. She does fantastic work. She's from Houston. So when we started talking and figured out she was from Houston, I'm like, I got to hire her. She's another Texan. And she got really good. Like the transition that you see, this is done by Darj, but that's that logo, that was done by Devora. So come on, people. What's the biggest / most polished PU photography community? Haskaha would be the one who knows more about that. The people who I would suggest, and I think one of them is here already. The people I talk with all the time about this are Haskaha, Captain Raul. I know I know you're here. But I only know you by your actual name, Glenn. Glenn Batillon. I forgot what his actual hand name. Insta Shinobi. These are all fantastic people who you should be following on Imgur. Thank you for gifting off all those subs to all those Boris, Nicholas, Siva, Dr. Mad TV, Roy McCoy, all this. Thank you so much. Hop Train. Twerk 17. I love Twerk. I love Mike. I had rocks thrown at me. Guess who's a huge pile of rocks to throw back now? I used to watch Board along with Twerk and Ansaurus back in the day in 2017 until I said on chat that the game would not be ready until 2024. Oof. There you are. There's Insta Shinobi. He's on YouTube right now. So, have I tried the new shipwrecks? I have not. Sadly, I probably won't until Saturday or Sunday, because tomorrow is Jumptown, baby. The return of Jumptown. And a couple people reached out to me and said, hey, let's go hang out together. So I'm going to be joining people like Space Tomato and, let's see, probably Morph and Gabs and those sorts of folks. So. Should be fun. Thanks for the content. I've been listening to all day, and while I moved to my house and having a big C. Having the big C? I don't know what that means. A baby? You having a baby, James? Oh, I used the big C. The thing that gets you demonetized. The panini. I got you. I'm sorry, buddy. Hopefully I hope the symptoms are light. Cam got her booster shot the other day. So her arm was started feeling really sore yesterday. And then today she's just been like all day. So Okay, time for Hell Let Loose. Enjoy that, buddy. I've been meaning to play more games like that. Thanks for them biddies. I hope they fix the scrap BS. I've been looking forward to hauling scrap, but they broke it. We'll see. I think the reason why they do those sorts of things is more because they're trying to add more. Because I think at some point they said they wanted to add some systems fully onto what's it called? Onto Quanta, but they haven't fully done that yet. So, because I think they were planning on doing it by 316, but I have a feeling that it got pushed because of that they were crunching for time. So 316.1 may be the time. When's the next lore video come out? Next Wednesday. We're going to talk about the history of AI in Star Citizen and its bad history and why there's no AI in Star Citizen and why that's the reason why technology hasn't really advanced much. Janice lives. Yeah. No. I'm not saying that there's no AI in Star Citizen. I'm saying there's no AI in the Star Citizen universe. Artificial intelligence doesn't exist in the lore of Star Citizen. It does, but every time they make it, it goes crazy and kills people. So they stop making them. But the new Imperator Guitars can change that, eh? They've already said that they're not planning on changing that fact in Star Citizen. The fact that Addison is building AI will now just change the missions that are you go to deal with a rogue AI, or with an AI that's built by a bunch of rogue scientists, to an official laboratory now that built an AI that's not gone rogue, that's supported by the UEE. Any guess for the lore video? So that's for Lore Citizen. When we're doing that sort of thing, I do want to do more collabs with lore, but I gotta figure out how to do more collabs with that sort of thing. I usually bring in guest voice actors and stuff like that. I'll figure out something with that, but not for this one. We did recently create a lore video for Starfield. Because I said that I wanted to look into Starfield's lore and I wanted to do some videos. One of the things I want to do, thank you for that hype train level 2, y'all, by the way. The reason why I want to do Starfield is because I want to kind of diversify my content a little bit, but also because I heard a lot of people say, I got burned by Bethesda. I don't want to play with them I don't trust them anymore. And I'm here to say, I too have been burned by Bethesda. And that's the reason why I'm doing Starfield content. Because as somebody who is not a regular Bethesda content creator, who's coming from outside of that community, I feel like I can speak from at least a little bit more of an outside voice. I'm not here to say that everybody who creates content for Bethesda is like doing nothing but glowing praise. That's not the case at all. But I think there are plenty of people in the Bethesda content creation community, people who make content for Bethesda games, for like videos and such, who suffer from tunnel syndrome, where like they're so focused on like trying to find the best parts because their community depends on it, sort of thing. So, does Star Citizen start releasing videos next week? Yeah, I think so. I think next week or the week after next. Simple, smart programs are fine. I think that's what they'll do. I'm sure some systems or pirates will have AI where you have to shut down illegal operations. Yeah, something like that for sure. There is also no true AI in Warhammer 40k and Dune for the same reason. AI always rises up and kills its masters. Yeah. In Star Citizen, it's less that AI rises up and kills its masters, but AI always fucks up. Like, there's never been a case where AI has been built, because they can build AI. There's never been a case where they've built an AI that hasn't fucked up and killed a bunch of people. Some people say that AI is evil, like it's all Skynet. And other people say it's just because they haven't perfected the technology. And other people will say that it's just impossible to perfect the technology because you're always going to fuck up because we're human and we fuck up. So you can't produce an AI system that's infallible. It's going to fuck up. And when it fucks up and you put so much weight in its hands, it's going to fucking cause a lot of more chaos, you know? Yeah, general AI probably doesn't exist, but narrow AI probably does. Yeah, expert systems. The IFCS, for instance, is an artificial intelligence, but it's not really an artificial intelligence. It's an expert system. It's designed to, it's similar to what we have right now, but it's, a little bit more advanced, but it's not an AI. I'm actually IRL friends with the guy who made the original Fallout. Granted, he hasn't been in that project for a long, long time. Yeah, I know that one for sure. Some people say self-checkout is evil. Bethesda is Skyrim. Yeah, they made Skyrim and Fallout 4 and Fallout 3. They're making Starfield, which is a space-based RPG. There's a lot of misconceptions. I'm probably going to do a video on Starfield lore and maybe a little bit of Starfield and maybe compare it with Star Citizen and stuff like that. Probably once every month or once every 2 months on the lead up to Starfield, and probably the month, like the September, I think is when it's coming out. November 11th is when it's coming out. So like on that month, that week lead up to Starfield, I'm going to produce a shit ton of Starfield videos for that. I think it's probably also IAE, so it's going to be a crazy week for me, but we're doing this a little bit more complicated. They decided that AI was stunting human evolution, so they went away with it. People became complacent, etc. Yeah. I'm just glad that our UBI is in our future according to RSI. Light UBI, not really. Joined halfway through. The Shelley has been Sean. I have been the Sean Shank Shelley. Sean Shank Shelley. Great stream. Do you think passenger transport gameplay will make it into the PU this year? Yeah. If it doesn't make it in 317, I think it will make it in 318. I think if you look at the roadmap right now for the release view, I think it's highly likely that everything in 317 and 318 will make it into the game this year. When this year, I don't know. But I'm almost certain that most of that's going to make it in, based off of how CIG's been moving things. I don't think we're going to see a huge shakeup of things. Now, some of the minor stuff, like there's a bunch of stuff about movement and like zero-G push-pull and all that sorts of things. That stuff might get broken up into several different smaller deliverables over the next year or so, and may slip into, like, say, next year, depending on that stuff. But I think most of the major gameplay aspects that they have in there and most of the major tools that they're looking to build will make it in. Yeah, like taxi missions, for instance. I think taxi missions will be in, but I also think that we're still waiting on. It's important to know when they'll make it in. Paul, will you be organizing something big for IAE 10-year anniversary this year? I might be. I'd love to see more depth for ATC weather updates. Basically, get the weather updates before heading to a planet side with the whole B Freelancer Max. I'd like to see stuff like that too. Yeah, I think they need a full ATC like operator mode, a full system that's dedicated just to talking with the ATC and kind of getting updates and landing permissions and those sorts of things. The irony is that we are interacting with humanoid AI characters all the time. Those blank-eyed zombies and Shubin mining facilities are, and we treat them as synths. Yeah. I'll be disappointed with. I was disappointed with the Outer Worlds, too short and shallow. Yeah, I think what we're going to see with Starfield is the Outer Worlds, but with more stuff. If that makes sense. Do you think we'll get that ACC chatter too, kind of like they have in Elite Dangerous? I think we'll have something like that. Yes. I'm really excited for taxi missions as well. The two big things I'd hope to see this year are taxi missions and cargo missions. So instead of having just pick up this box, take it from point A to point B, it's take 42 units of cargo from this point to this other point, or 16 units of cargo from this point to another point, because I think that's more fun as like a cargo hauler. Give me more Euro Truck Simulator and less FedEx delivery man. You think we'll be invited to mocap the pooping Paul? You are the king of poop. CIG, I will do it for free. If you need someone to mocap the pooping animations, I will do it for free. I can see Starfield doing more of a Destiny type of planetary travel. Yeah, I think with the proper expectations for something like Starfield is space travel will be a thing. And you will have events in space, but I think it's going to be mostly on rails with some interaction. I would not expect something like even No Man's Sky. I think that is a pipe dream to see something like No Man's Sky in there. If you're thinking that Starfield is going to be Star Citizen, forget it. Like, there's no way that game engine, let alone Bethesda, will develop something like that. It just doesn't work with their how they develop games and with the engine that they've built. It just doesn't handle that stuff very well. So I think of it like how the original Knights of the Old Republic, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, that whole like space travel system where sometimes you had like combat where you could shoot things down in like the gunner seat and stuff like that. I think something like that, but less Star Wars and more Expanse. You know, like you're coming up on an enemy who's locked missiles. You have to get in. You have to deploy countermeasures. You have to like shoot, lock in a sight and fire your railgun or whatever. It's going to be a little bit more distant fighting and like back and forth than it's going to be like pew, 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 you know. And you're just going to get to a place, you will land probably more like auto land in a location and then go out and explore a map, which is the world, and then back in the ship and explore more areas. So effectively, the ships work as both a loading screen and as kind of its own sort of level. I think that's what I'm expecting at best. At worst, the ship is just a loading screen for the rest of the planets, and you have some minor things you do in there and like ship interactions, like socialization. Think Mass Effect. At worst, it's a Mass Effect clone, but in Bethesda skin. And at best, it's something a little bit more. Question: having buyer's remorse with my Odysseys, any chance I may drop a full prospector bags and take out empty bags for more rocks? Then we could return the refinery with Odyssey full of ore bags. So the Odyssey is not a miner. All of the, according to CIG, all of the stuff that you mine from the Odyssey goes straight to the refinery. So you can't mine anything other than fuel. And as far as we know, there's no manual input for ore from the passenger stuff. You just have to mine it directly into the system. I wouldn't expect Starfield to be multiplayer. I'd expect it to be single player and at most co-op. It's Skyrim 2.0 in space. They've said that they want to be more hardcore RPG, so I expect a little bit more leaning towards Fallout New Vegas and with like Fallout 4's mechanics. I don't think it's going to be Fallout New Vegas because it's a different story and different universe and everything, but I think it's going to be something like that. You know, I don't like the ship, but what do you think of the Redeemer is or the role the Redeemer is now? When I had size 4s, it was treated as like a mini hammerhead to help keep away light fighters, which is why it was so tanky. Now it has size 5 guns and seems to be more anti-large ship above rather than fighters. The Redeemer's always been a ground defense target. It's been designed to deploy troops or to be flown in with troops and be used in conjunction with Valkyries. It's designed as a Apache. That's what it is. That also has some space capabilities, but it's an Apache. That's what it is. So more like Dragon Age? I guess, kind of, yeah. I could see the ship being a level you play around with for setup duration. You travel between places. I don't think you'll be physically flying. Yeah, I think that's the case, yeah. I think the ship is just effectively a loading zone where they like unload the level around you and then load in the new level, and then they have some sort of like fake area around you to make it look like you're traveling through space, and you can like talk with other crew members who are your like companions, and then do stuff on the ship to like boost your XP or whatever, like some minor interactions. But I'm expecting much more like Skyrim or Fallout 4, but like in a space skin. Question: Odyssey carry prospector and swap bags full with MT Odyssey hanger. Yeah, you could probably drop the yes. So if you want to like mine with your prospector and then drop the bags off and then move them into the hangar of the Odyssey. You could probably do that. And pick up empty prospector stuff. Dare I ask about Star Atlas? I don't know anything about Star Atlas. All I know about Star Atlas is that it's NFTs, and everything I've seen about Star Atlas tells me that it's really not there for a video game. It's there for, like a lot of NFT projects, it's there to say it's the first NFT space game. That's it. It's there for selling NFTs, not for making a video game. As long as it's not Fallout 76. I think at most what they'll do is they'll make a co-op mode. Because I think if Fallout 76 was just a co-op experience, it would have been a much better experience for overall. Paul, Pyro this year. I want to say yes. What really depends is 317. If 317 is entirely gutted, if it's filleted like the Filet-O-Fish, filleted and deep fried and served on a McDonald's bun, then yeah, no. But if it's mostly intact with everything that they want to do in 317 coming out, then yeah, I'd say there's a good chance to for it to be making this year. If it's completely intact and nothing slips, then yeah, I'd be fairly confident that Pyro would be coming in this year. Because here's the issue. Pyro needs server meshing, static server meshing. And you're not getting static server meshing until you have 1, the new renderer, and 2, persistence. Persistence is coming in anytime between 317 and 318. And I think if we get persistent hangers in 317, then persistence coming in 317, or at least part of it is, which is a good sign if you're looking for Pyro coming in at the end of the year. What's in 317 that's so good? Persistence. At least partial persistence. Because you've got things like the ship inventory system. Like we have the personal inventory system, then the ship version of that system is coming in 317, and persistent hangers are coming in 317 as well. If both of those make it in, that's a good indication of where they are technology-wise. So will beta come out 2023 or earlier? I don't think we're going to see beta coming out until after they get at least 5 systems in, and I don't expect them to have 5 systems in until 2024 or 2025. Ask that in June. I know they want to. What's that? Getting back to the player homesteads, do you envision townships with UEE protection, missile coverage, and even shields already provided where players can build habitation without a beacon? No, I imagine everyone's going to have... I imagine you're going to have to build... If you don't have UEE protection, you can build anywhere. But if you want UEE protection, I don't think you're going to get... Like, UEE is not going to give you shit. You have the legal right to the land, and you can shoot people on your land because they're trespassing, kind of thing. I'm just going to point out that the weapon and fighter rebalance has been ongoing for over 6 months with no word since that was flatlined. That has nothing to do with the technology, though. Weapon and fighter rebalance, it has been worked on every so often. I think the last patch, 316, they did update some of the, was it the shields that they started to mess with? I'll keep asking, can you do a video on the Star Citizen economics and plans for the dynamic economy? And I keep planning on making one, and I keep forgetting to do it. I will definitely do one this year. I'll have to find, maybe in February. I'll have some time for that. Star Atlas is to gaming what Fire Festival is to music festivals. Yeah. CIG may accept crypto payments for merch. They may, but I don't think they'll ever do NFTs. He said beta. Well, the people are asking for beta. Capacitors, this was post-capacitor gameplay. Like, capacitors, they reset everything, and then after capacitors, they kind of set everything to be standard and flat, and I think they either updated weapons or shields recently. I get that, Ferensky, but that you don't have faith in Star Citizen meeting any kind of time zones. I get that. I understand that. But we're also talking about completely different systems here. The team that develops the balance and fighter pass has nothing to do with the technology behind Star Citizen. It has more to do with the balance and other stuff. Like it has to do with the stuff that's already in the game, that stuff that's being made. And again, it really depends on their goals, how well they hit their goals for the next couple of patches. Because 3.17 and 3.18 will set the standard will set the mood for the rest of the year. If we start to see a bunch of panic and reworking of the whole roadmap and everything that's on the roadmap now goes away and we have to see something brand new, then goodbye any chance of server meshing coming in this year. That's just not going to fucking happen. But, which is fine. It's best to let us know now, though, than just keep that dangling string around to just say, oh, it's canceled until next year in September because you're too much of a coward to admit that you fucked up. Like, don't do that. Be upfront with people, and people will be a lot more willing to give you a break. Some people won't, but those people will never give you a break anyways. That's just the reality. Yeah, experience team is not the same. From CIG's end, why do they err on the side of very, very late notice? Because CIG seems to believe that they always have a chance to get something in. And they don't want to tell anybody the change until they know themselves when it's changing. This is why they err on that side. I get the impulse, but it's much better to remove it from the roadmap and then have it come back in and have people gnash and wail at that moment. Have DG360 on for the economy talk. Man, people have been saying to bring DG360 in. I've talked with DeGames before. He's just not available. Usually, me and him and I, his schedule and I just don't mesh up. So, yeah, they work their ass off to try to get it in until the last minute. Now, recently, that's a good sign because almost always, if they fuck up, then it gets added in later. Like with full persistence or not full persistence inventory system and the medical system got delayed, but it got delayed a patch, not like goodbye, see you 10 years from now. So, which is set right now, set me at at expectations to say CIG is pretty solid in their predictions for the roadmap. It's just time is their issue right now. Because very rarely do we see something on the release view that just disappears and never comes back. Not since July of this year, I should say. I will say that 3.16 was an anomaly, but that's I think I've critiqued CIG for it, and I will say it again. Don't do that ever again. It's bad. Question: do you think that people starting the build in the same area, if it gets popular, Star Citizen will make a permanent city out of it, by adding fuel station, trading post, hubs, and rent? No, I think players will do it, though. I think CIG will allow for that sort of thing to have players deal with it. Because the way the Quanta system works, Quanta will recognize locations like Banu Merchantmans, at least that's what they seem to be indicating, for Quanta come in and buy and sell things, or NPCs. So as long as the systems have like tags, I guess as it were, as like you're building this refueling station, then NPCs might come by and pay for refueling if you have it there. I have a theory based off of my own experiences or my own understanding of how civilizations form, is that I think in wild space and places where there isn't a lot of control from NPCs, but has valuable resources or other strategic positions, you will have large groups of players build settlements, usually organizations build area like outposts, and then other smaller groups or people will come to those areas and ask permission to set up shop in that area. And of course, smart big orgs will say, sure, because, safety in numbers. You just have to pay us extra, pay us taxes for protection, for protecting you. And if it's in a location that's strategically valuable or has good resources, then that area will grow over time if that organization that originally controlled it is smart about it. And you will see the natural boom bust towns and other just kind of settlements form out of those interactions. I don't think we'll see Area 18. I don't think we'll see a second Area 18, but I think we'll see small towns that will be built of halves that won't be growing up, but be growing out. I'd love to see the scratches and scuffs of ships as a skin or as a progressive layer of individual that can persist beyond refuel and repair. That's planned already. It's in the game right now. You're talking about more of like a persistent wear and tear where no matter how well you repair it, like the scratches and dents remain. I don't know. What's a BMMN? I've seen JPEGs. Paul, how you doing with Rage Shadow Legends? I haven't played it in a while. It's a good game. I enjoyed it for what it was, but they haven't paid me again. It took a while for them to pay me. When they paid me, I was like, I am not interested in working with you again. Because you paid like, it's this, the usual rule is 60 days. You get paid 60 days at the end of your contract with those sorts of things. And they paid me 90 days afterwards, or no, I think it's 60 days. It might be 90 days. They paid me like at the very extreme end of it. It was like the absolute last possible moment they could pay me. They paid me. And I'm like, bro. It should persist as long as you don't claim the ship. Yeah. But I also don't think that full repairs, like scratches and dents won't remain if you repair the ship, because you repaired the ship. Just fly a Drake ship, yeah. That happens right now. Your ship will decay. If you see your ship, like if you put your ship down in a place that has like snowstorms and you leave it in a snowstorm and then you take it off, you'll notice that the paint is chipped and degraded. Until you go repair it, that skin will be fucked. It'll look like it's been through like a sandstorm or a snowstorm, and it'll have a bit of a weathering effect to it. It already is in game. It doesn't really affect the flight of ships yet, but hey, Wallace, how you doing, buddy? I'm still playing because of you. Are you enjoying it, Ottoman? Astro Pub Town when? Soon. Sleazy Shadow Legends. It's just that they work with so many people that when you work with them, they'll pay you based off of the amount of viewers you have. So the people who have the most viewers are the people that they're going to pay more upfront first. Whereas also not really persistent. If you still recall the ship, it's gone. I think that's part of the persistence. Like, we're going to have full persistence. Oh, hey, Jack. Going to be all meowy? He's panicking. He's like, I want attention, but I don't want you to pick me up. But my stinky boy. My big stinky boy. The chainsaw has arrived. Yeah. Purr for them. What's my thoughts on Squadron 42? Will we see it released by 2026? Yeah, it'll be out by 2023. I'll explain my thoughts here in a moment, but I'm giving the cat tax because my cat is being very needy. I see you too, worshiper cat overlords. I have 3. Jack's the middle child. He's like 8 or 9 years old. And our oldest cat's like 10 or 11. He's 3 years older than Jack. So yeah, she's like 12 and he's like 8 or 9. And our youngest is like 2 or 3 years old. Astro Kitty, yeah. All right, you want down? You want down, buddy? Okay. Guys are 22 and 18. Whew, they are holding out. Raid is fun. Getting into the more of the mid and end game-ish areas is where it gets real pay to win. Yeah. Handsome cat. He's a very handsome man. A handsome boy. Is there anything you regret in your Star Citizen time? Probably not playing as much as I could. You know, every so often I'll get the bug to play Star Citizen not on stream. For those of you who don't know, I do play Star Citizen weekly, usually Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Those Saturdays are going to be a little bit more kind of little off the wall because the Spice Must Roll is returning on Saturday. For those of you who don't know what TSMR is, the Spice Must Roll is my actual play TTRPG podcast where I bring people from other players and stuff like that, and we play tabletop RPGs which are based in science fiction. So we've got a long-running Star Wars game, Star Wars Edge of the Empire game, and we've got the Visual Expanse RPG game and a Star Trek Adventures game, which we're doing currently. They rotate off seasons, so like when one ends, you take a break and then another one starts, sort of thing. We're currently bringing up season 4. It's really more like season 3.5 of our Expanse RPG game, Expanse Actium. That's starting up this Saturday. So, did already miss the immersion discussion around hacking gameplay. We didn't talk about hacking gameplay. We talked about pooping gameplay. We just talked about how you can sometimes become too immersive can be a problem for gameplay overall. But yeah, we discussed that earlier. Speaking of, I'm getting sad eyes from my Doberman. Good night, all. Have a good night there, Dunstar. Thanks for hanging out. Is that separate from YouTube channel? It's a separate YouTube channel from here. We do it live on Twitch, but those videos get uploaded to the Twitch or youtube.com/thespicemustroll. That's where all those videos end up. It's a separate YouTube channel that I don't promote enough, so go there. Subscribe. I'm going to be doing simultaneous streams to Twitch and to YouTube there, so you'll be able to watch them there live as well. I regret not spending as much as I have, but had I known, I'd be putting more in earlier, but otherwise I'm enjoying it. It is. I would be interested to have a Pioneer shipyard variant. I don't think you're going to ever be able to build ships in Star Citizen, I'm going to be honest. I think you'll be able to repair them, like a dry dock sort of thing, but no, you're never going to be able to build ships in Star Citizen. An API for HUDs would be pretty awesome. I'd like to see that, yeah. We need a Cats and RCPC. The Spice Must Roll. Not Spice Must Roll, the Spice Must Roll. Just like the Astropub. Can't have sex because of age ratings, and you can't have pooping. Yeah, that was the other thing I was going to bring up, but I didn't talk about it. Like, you're not going to have strippers, fully nude scenes. You're not going to have interactive sex scenes. Those sorts of things won't happen. I know so many people will be upset about it, but you're not going to be able to have that sort of thing in Star Citizen. I think, will strip clubs exist? Probably in the game, but it'll probably be similar to like the GTA games, where like the most you'll have is skimpy outfits and like canned dancing. That's about it. No slavery either. Yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to like actually slave that kind of stuff. Space pasties, yeah. Robot spot the dog pets. That's the way around and find no androids banned. That's true. In Pioneer, do you have the? Do you think passive income will be a thing? Not in the Pioneer, but in the Banner Merchantman and the Privateer, I think you'll have some passive income. But I think you'll still have to be online and managing it. CIG, Chris Roberts doesn't seem to be a big fan of passive gameplay. He wants the people to be involved and active, but I don't see that being possible without. With Banner Merchantman and Privateer. So I think they'll probably see some passive gameplay, but you'll still have management that the player will have to do at some point. Like, for instance, if you have a Banner Merchantman, you can't just log out of your Banner Merchantman and have that Banner Merchantman still be active. Like, you'll have to be there and online or at least online when it's running. Question, how far off do you reckon Waterworlds are off? I'm holding out hope for Kano in one of the first 10 systems. I think Kano is probably going to be there, but I think that's still probably 3 or 4 years out. I think once CIG nails down 2 or 3 systems, I think they'll tackle Waterworlds. They've been actively working on the water effects, and they've been working on water, lots of different water concepts. So the fact that they're actively working on it, but they're not talking about it, they're in, it's in monthly reports, but it's not in like ISC, tells me that they're probably 2 to 3 years away. And there's a lot of it is probably there's not much of a reason to have water working until after they actually have server meshing working. So something like that happened in Elite. Pretty messed up stuff. I mean, slave labor can be a thing. You can force a player to set their spawn into your ships and guard the medibay and force them to do whatever you want and lock them in prison overnight. Yeah, you could, and then they'll just eventually die and start to spawn a new character. How much travel between systems do you think there'll be once we have, say, 5 systems? Are people going to stay in mostly one most of the time, or quite a bit? Travel quite a bit. It depends on your gameplay. I think if you're a space trucker, you're going to be moving around a lot. But if you're like a bounty hunter, I don't think you're going to be leaving one system. You'll find a good system that has good steady income, and you'll stay there, because reputation matters as well. There'll be some reputation which goes across between systems, but like bounty hunter guilds, but you're probably not going to get good jobs with just having a good rep with the bounty hunter guild if you're a bounty hunter. You probably also need good reps with the local security forces. So rep is a big issue there, and I think you're also going to see that leaving your planetary system and then by the time you have, multiple star systems in game will be a significant thing. Right now we're just jumping all over the place because we can, but in the future, especially in larger systems where like you've got double the size of Stanton, leaving a planetary system to go to another planet is going to take the same time it takes, or double the time it takes to get from one side of the system to another now, which is like even in the fastest most efficient ship, that's something like 10 minutes or 5 to 10 minutes. So we're looking like 10 to 15 minutes, something like that, maybe 20 minutes between one end to another. It just won't make a lot of sense in terms of gameplay for you to leave that unless it's actually valuable. Will crime stat follow you to a new system? That's a good question. I do not like the current crime stat system. I think it's stupid. I think it worked for when it was available, but I think it needs to be retired. And I would love to see any kind of law system focus more on reputation rather than this arbitrary crime stat. Because it makes sense to have reputation be your crime stat. Because if you're wanted by the Hurston Dynamics, you may not be wanted by the UEE because of, breaking some local infraction or law or whatever. It doesn't make any sense that you are wanted for class 1 violation for smuggling somebody off the planet when that's not against the law in the UEE, sort of thing. So, and I'd like to be much more of a background system that you have to pay attention to rather than an active system that's just always in your face. You think there'll be any of the sports besides racing? Yeah, saddleball. I think saddleball will be a thing once they get that working. I bet it'll be harder / slower and more expensive to move your Stanton ships to get gear to Pyro. Oh, yeah. Hey, Q-Pen. Are you excited about more CY22? What are you most excited for about CY22? What's CY22? Where's my crossbows? That's a good question. What do you expect there in the when would you expect to see the first roadmap update for this year? Wednesday? Maybe Wednesday or next Wednesday? This coming Wednesday or next Wednesday? You have to ask Jake about that. Jake will know. Jake just got back, so I don't think this year. He probably just pulled it this Wednesday, so it'll probably be next Wednesday or the Wednesday after that. Calendar year 2020. Okay. Just overall, calendar year 2022. This is going to sound weird, but June. Because June 2nd is my last day of work for, school year 2021-2022. And then this will be the first year that I'm settled in my house, that I'm mostly financially stable. I have good equipment. I have time, so I can do things like a lot more products work. I can also do what I've been working on right now. actually pretty proud of this. It's not great, but Jake from State Farm, yes. Jake loves that. It's totally something he never hears every day. Not flowing through the floors anymore. Stealth suit, yes. Hey, Soul Citizens! Welcome, everybody. I'm just showing off my Warhammer Mini. How y'all doing? Please remove the God marker. Yeah, I'd like to see that as well. Welcome, everybody. My name is Paul, Berserker01, Batman Shelley. This is the Office Hours, an AMA stream where we take your questions and we just kind of hang out and talk Star Citizen. Summer school? I don't teach summer school. I taught summer school last year because they had it local at my school, but usually my district just kind of does it at one central location. And I taught it last year, and the money was good, but like if they don't do it again this year like they did last year, then there's no point. I'll stay home. What's a God marker? So right now when you're doing bounty hunting, if you have a player, there's a marker that tells you where that player is at all times. Sometimes it takes some time to update, but like the closer you get to it, the more it's a giant marker. So you know where that player is no matter what. Hip hop hooray. Hey, Fastcart. You'll get a follow command for Soul Citizens. If you haven't already done so, you should be following Soul Citizens. They're fantastic. They're worth your time, worth your effort, worth your subscription, worth your follow. The follow at the very least. Great content creators. Some of them have been around for a very long time. And that's not an old joke. It's just, we're all old. It's been 10 years, y'all. Invisibility tech. We're not going to see invisibility tech in Star Citizen. CIG add TTRPG to the first, please, so you can play that. Warhammer or 40K? This is 40K. It's a Tau stealth suit. So, fun story. My first box of 40K miniatures coming back from since 2001, so almost 20 years at that point, a little under 20 years since I'd last played 40K, was the Kill Team Start Collecting kit from like 2018 Kill Team. And that had a thing of Space Marine Reavers and a thing of Tau. And I'm like, I don't have any interest in any of these armies. I wanted to build an Imperial Guard army, but I figured a kill team having the setup and having the terrain was a good idea, because that was just kind of a nice little starter set, and also to play kill team because I could start playing kill team with the wife. By the time Cam got invested in 40K herself, I'd already built like 2 full armies for 40K. It'd been 2 years. Yeah, most of them are done, but you know. So, but when it came time for the new kill team set, there's a new kill team set coming out. They had more terrain, which was pretty cool, and they had a set of sisters, which Cam collects sisters. So I said, hey, I'll buy that, and it came with more Tau. And I'm like, at this point, if I'm getting 2 things of Tau, because I still have those Tau fire warriors just sitting there, I was like, I'll just get a start collecting kit. And then I realized that for Kill Team, I could also use some of the Tau for Kill Team as well, some regular Tau. And, the one of the things I allowed was stealth suits. I'm like, I really like these design of these guys. They're really cool designs. Like, I like the kind of the bubble armor. It's very much like a power armor kind of design. Very cool. So I got a set of these. And now I realize it's like, I've got like a mini army that I could fucking paint now. So I'm trying to go through and finish some of these guys before their next codex comes out. Yeah, I really do like those. They come in 3. Yeah, there's 3 of them. I've got 2 more that I've already finished. So I just got the Total War Warhammer from Prime Gaming. I have no idea what it's about, but I'm excited to play. It's a fun game. It's it's hard to explain. Total War is the Warhammer is the fantasy version, and then 40K is the space version. But it's fun. If you like Total War games and you like Lord of the Rings sort of thing, you'll like Warhammer Total War. It's really good. Holy shit, the haircut took 10 years off of you, dude. Yeah. See, like my hair is actually kind of dark when it's short, but as it grows out, the gray comes out a little bit further. So you can actually see a little green speck around me there, but I want the Gaunt's Ghost ones. I have the Gaunt's Ghost ones. I have them primed, but I figured since Tau Codex is coming out soon and the Astra Militarum Codex is still a year away, probably likely, if not more, I figured I'd paint the Tau that I have now and then go back. I have a full Orc army that I finished during October. The only thing I have left for that army is 1 buggy and 3 commandos. So, anyways, it's a tradition to whenever I do minis to show them off, because I also have, as you were wondering, I have a couple of Star Wars Legion minis, like Rebel minis for Star Wars Legion. I've got one painted. This was my test paint, and I'm going to get the other ones painted up here shortly. And then I also have some JRDF minis. I still have a freelancer to paint from these. I got 2 freelancers to paint, one big one, one small one. So we'll do some painting streams at some point. So I think if I'm going to do painting streams, I'm going to make them exclusively for YouTube, I think. Yes, Star Wars has 3 tabletops. They have Armada, they have X-Wing, and they have Legion. Legion is the ground-based tabletop. They have Rebels, they have Empire, they have Galactic Republic, and they have Confederacy of Independent Systems. So they have like battle droids and clones and stormtroopers and rebel troopers, all that kind of stuff. And then same thing with X-Wing. I think X-Wing may only have Galactic stuff, but it may have the Clone War stuff as well, which is just like a fighter-based thing. So you have like fighters and bombers fighting each other. And then you have Armada, which is the big ships, like the Star Destroyers and cruisers and all that kind of stuff. They're all different styles, so. Can't wait for a Death Corps of Krieg style campaign in Vandal Space when it gets added. Oh God, Siege of Vrax, but with a Vandal. Goddamn. I wish Halo top RPGs tabletop games didn't die. Yeah. How is a Legion compared to 40K? More complicated, but also more accessible. Legion requires you to use like cards, like all of your units stuff is on cards, and has a little bit of a complex system when dealing with like cover and stuff like that. It's more complicated than what 40K is today, but it is also, all of the rules are free online. If you buy their start collecting, their starter kit for either the Clone Wars or the Galactic Civil War, you don't get full armies, but you get 2 significantly sized armies. And all it requires at that point is like 2 or 3 additional purchases, and you've got yourself fully functional army for one side or the other. So if you're a person who enjoys Star Wars and you want to get your loved ones or kids involved in it, and they want to paint and do minis, it's not so complex you can't figure it out. There's plenty of videos online to help you kind of learn how to play it. But if you're already playing tabletop war games, you're used to it. If you play tabletop RPGs, it's not that complicated in comparison. Star Citizen chat, VR chat, yeah. Yeah, X-Wing is really fun. When you move back to Texas, you have to look into that. Yeah, Austin, at least the Austin area, is one of the biggest tabletop RPG and tabletop wargaming markets in the world. Well, not in the world, in the United States. We have a yearly major tabletop kind of convention that comes here. It's like one of the bigger ones for the country. We need a total overhaul of the paint system. The in-game presentation is fine with the primary color pattern, secondary color pattern, etc., shown in the can and label. They need to put material flags for the ships so that paint can be used on any ship. I agree. I know why they haven't done that yet, because the paint system is ancient, and replacing it with new systems is important, but it's just not, it doesn't really matter. It works. That's one of those things that when they've done things like the new ship damage model and do different ammo types and, fix all that whole thing up, when they come to a more finalized system for ships, then they'll come back and look at paints again. But yeah, we also need persistence for custom paints, which is hopefully in the next 2 patches. Sorry, it's as anyone who's been watching Office Hours will tell you, it's tradition that if I paint some new minis, that I kind of show off those minis so that y'all can see like what I've been working on. And again, if you are interested, if you watch this on YouTube especially, if you're interested in watching and me doing kind of a live stream with just me painting and just hanging out and painting minis, let me know, so I can do that. Especially because I can buy more JRDF minis and paint those as well if you just want Star Citizen stuff. But yeah, I've got not only do I have JRDF Star Citizen ships to paint, I've got 2 full squads of Rebel Troopers to paint. I've got 32 infantry units of, not like units, but like models of Tau. And I think 8 battle suits. No, 7 battle suits. Yeah, 7 battle suits. And a bunch of like drones. I've got some reinforcements from my Astra Militarum army. I've probably got a good 20 to 30 new infantry that I've collected over the last 2 years that haven't been painted yet. Plus 3 new vehicles which I haven't painted yet. And then for my birthday, my family got me the Marvel tabletop game. So I've got that to paint as well. So I've got plenty of stuff to paint if y'all want to kind of watch for that sort of stuff. When the Vulture finishes scraping Derelict's hull, do you think it will also be able to refine scrap for repairing hull damage? I don't think it'll be able to refine scrap. That's really I don't think it'll be able to refine. I don't think any of ship will be able to refine. I don't even think the Reclaimer will be able to refine. It'll be able to process it, but I don't know if it'll be able to refine it. I could be wrong with that one though. But I don't think it'll be able to process it in terms of a way, or like refine it in a way that you can then repair hulls with it. I think you can deliver it to something that can do that, but JR Design and Fabrication. Yes. JR Design and Fabrication is a officially licensed through CI, like they do officially licensed models from CIG. They work with CIG, kind of like all of their processes for making those minis gets approved by CIG themselves, by the ship design team. They're the ones who kind of look over what GRDF has, approves it, disapproves it, that sort of thing. Make sure everything's right. So. Have a dice set hanging off the window. That'd be kind of cool, yeah. You share a minute review of Dune 2021 movie. If you like Dune, the book, you like the movie. And if you like the movie, it's only half the freaking movie. It's one half of a movie. Anyone know where I can get a Carrick model to paint? Oh, yeah. That's it. That JR Design Fabrication. Everyone calm down, and yes, I'd watch you paint. I thought 40K was the only miniature out there. Oh, there's tons of them. There's Infinity, which is its own system. There's a Marvel game. There's a DC game that's kind of discontinued now. There's historical games like Bolt Action and other games like that. There's old timey like sea pirate stuff. There's lots of games like that. There's BattleTech, which is its own tabletop game with mechs and stuff like that. I miss the Cutlass fan. I do too. I'd like to see that return as a cosmetic. Good movie is a great watch, but yeah, you'd have to be in the right kind of mood for it. I like painting Tau second only to Blood Marines. I mean, Blood Angels probably. 200's fun to paint too, especially trying out painting techniques. Yeah. Warma Hordes in monoproc if you want to do kaiju fights. Yeah. MWO MechWarrior Online does that while you charge for does where they charge you for dice in the cockpit. I don't think CIG will necessarily only do cosmetics be paid by IRL cash. CIG is the kind of people who would do a premium set of fuzzy dice that you can buy on the store, but you can also get them in game, which are a couple different sets. That's stuff. That's the kind of thing they'll do. Do you think we'll get mechs in Star Citizen? All right, this is not really a mech. Sean Tracy, I have not had direct arguments with Sean Tracy, but I will get in arguments with Sean Tracy because Sean Tracy says that this is not a mech, but I think it's the closest we're going to get to a mech in Star Citizen. Prepare yourselves. Are you prepared? You are not prepared. Meet the Titan suit. It's a giant exo armor. It's the original design concept was similar to the power loader from Aliens, but with guns. Almost sounds like you're a Tau guy. I love mechs. I'm a big mech guy, which is why I like Tau. So Master Chief, bigger than the Master Chief. These suits are like, if you see the bottom of this thing's feet, like down here, the actual human inside, their feet goes up to the joints here. So if the average human is 6 feet tall, and we've seen that this is like the same length as the feet, this is probably, or the legs, this is probably about 2 to 3 feet, in Star Citizen at least, this is about 2 to 3 feet tall. So this is a good total of 9 to 10 feet tall. Master Chief is big. He's not 10 feet tall big. So Juggernaut suit more like, yeah. Not so big it won't fit in a ship, yeah. You can't combine all the whole suits in the Super Hull Mecha? No, but I do miss the you miss this. Raftron. Yeah, it's something for Squadron 42 that they want to make into the PU. It's first for Squadron though, yeah. Be more like 12 foot tall with a power pack in the rear. Yeah, it's probably anywhere between 10 and 15 feet tall. So the player model is 6 feet tall for men, for the males, and I think the females are like 5'8", so they're, or 5'9". So they're small, they're slightly shorter than the males. The model is at least. So like a Titan suit is fucking big. Well, it depends. We don't know if we don't know how many they could fit inside like a C2 because we don't know if they could fold. My theory is the way that they have that kind of digigrade legs that they'll be able to like fold in because they got to probably like kneel down so that the pilot can get in and then they stand up. So if they fold down, they can be about 6 feet tall. So you could put as many suits, and they're wide, probably a little bit bigger than a person, but you could probably put as many suits as you could put people. Because of my immersion, I will get a strategic advantage being a female model because it's smaller, therefore harder to hit. It already the model is already harder to hit. The female character model is smaller and is already the hitbox is already harder to hit. Max Chief is 7 foot, yeah. Vandal and Banu height. Vandal are between I think 8 and 10, and Banu are like 7 feet, I think. The average male is 5'7". Yeah, but the Instar Citizen, the average male is 6 foot. I think it's because it's just nice and rounded. And it has less to do with like the actual proportions of people and more to do with how easy it is to build around 6 feet as the standard. How to make a Star Citizen tabletop. It's complicated, but you can do it. When you're going to get medals for short people, well, that's the thing. They've actually talked about the idea of being able to have variable heights for players that they want to do for character creation at some point. So we'll see. Female characters, odd job meta? Yeah. I mean, tanks are cool, but wouldn't it be a flex to drop 20 mech warriors in the battle? Well, considering that the guns they have are probably like size 1 to size 2 ship weapons, dropping 20 size 2 weapons, weapons platforms, is probably a little bit more effective and a little bit more flexible than one size 5. Even if that size 5 is God's right hand, you can put a lot more of those size 2s and size 1s or size 2s onto the battlefield. It makes a lot more difference. Yeah, the Tavarn are about the same height as humans. Maybe I think it's slightly shorter, and the Xian are actually, God, like 5'2", 5'3". The real question is whether they can fit through a standard airlock. That's a good question because that's actually something that they wanted to do, was to make all of the stations big enough so that they could fit a Titan suit walking through them. Which is the reason why if you look at stations, they're huge. They've got massive ceilings because they wanted to make them big enough so that a Titan suit could walk through. In an open environment, the Tonk would win, but in an urban environment, I could see the Titan suits coming into their own. All about that player choice they want us to do, right tool for the right situation. I agree, but I think at the same time, having multiple units of big guns rather than having one unit of big gun means that any opponent that's attacking you is going to have to, if you have multiple units, they're going to have to make a decision, especially if those units fan out and attack. So they're going to have to focus on something, but if they're focusing on one suit, then they're going to have, 9 other suits that are attacking them from different positions if it's a well developed, like well executed attack. So a Tonk versus 10 suits, I think the 10 suits are going to win easy. Have a good workout, buddy. Outpost airlocks don't look tall enough for me. No, outpost airlocks would never be able to fit a Titan suit, but they aren't supposed to. The whole purpose of Titan suits is to be shock troops and to be dangerous, but to have limitations. I wouldn't expect Titan suits to be in any kind of urban area. The biggest places they'll be is in capital ships, transport ships, and stations. And even then, I expect the only way you're getting a Titan suit into a station is through a docking bay. Not even docking bay, through it like a cargo bay. Also, the suits should have way more mobility. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be FPS rather than vehicle. Have a good night there, James. Avatar made a great mech suit. Seems real. Yeah, it's similar to that. I want my 40k floating space cathedral battleships in Star Citizen. Yeah. Ground to air battles, Titan versus Mustang. That's a good question. I would actually say probably a Titan in that situation, because in atmosphere, a Mustang is going to have a lot less maneuverability, where a Titan is going to be a little bit more maneuverable on the ground, so it can easily track a target, and probably track a target better than you can in a tank, because it's FPS. So what I'm hearing is that a Caterpillar is going to get a lot of extra turrets when the Titan suits come in. Also, Cat will be the best drop ship for them, unless they make specific ones for them. That or the M2s or C2s, because the Titan, those ones will work fairly similar. It depends on the height of those cargo bays. But yeah, I could definitely see that. Titan suit is going to be a boss in one of the missions. Oh, definitely. And I guarantee you Titan suits will be used for big name enemies and missions in Star Citizen, not just Squadron. And the signature chute should be so small. It's going to be smaller, probably as small as, at least as small as a Cyclone, would be my guess. Again, I don't know how tall the Liberator is. The Liberator might be able to fit it, but we'll see. I actually can't wait for a Van Duel dynamic event. I know it won't live up to how they've talked about losing a system to the Van Duel, and we'll have to go in and retake it, etc. I mean, I think by the time they have something like that coming in, I think we will see. It'll definitely be. It'll live up similar to that event. But really, what matters is they have to get the Quanta system working. Oh, wait, the Liberator. I'm sorry. I thought you said Valkyrie. Liberator full of Titans is, tiny the Death Fairy. Titan legs can't resist harpoons. Anvil capital ship when? I think they'll sell one at either Invictus or CitizenCon of this year. And is it flushable? That's a good question. But will the Titan suit have a toilet? See, my hope is that the Titan suit is just a frame, and that different manufacturers build different types of Titan suits. So you could have like the Titan suit that's built by Tumbril versus a Titan suit built by RSI versus a Titan suit built by Argo. And or a Grey Cat, and each suit is designed for different things. Like a Grey Cat suit is designed for mining, and or an Argo suit is designed for loading and unloading. RSI is designed for exploration. Anvil Drake is designed for industrial work, and that kind of thing. Because that would be a nice little addition to like the Star Citizen gameplay, is to add more diversity, is to have those suits. A Titan suit with a catheter. Any speculation on what we'll get at IAE or at Invictus? Not really yet. I think we're definitely going to get that bomber that they've talked about. But in terms of Anvil capital ship, I think we'll get a ship that is a replacement for the Idris. So we'll get a frigate, which we'll sacrifice the ships. Maybe might be able to have one ship similar to like the Polaris, but it will be bigger and will have bigger guns. So instead of having one big like cannon, it'll probably have a bunch of size 7 or size 8 guns attached to it. But the size of an Idris. Because in lore, there was a ship that was designed to replace the Perseus that was being designed by the founder of Case Aerospace. But after the Second Tavaran War, but when Case died in an accident, that fell through. So those designs, the Case Aerospace, like frigate designs, gunship frigate designs, were still around. And when and the Idris is an example, like it was built after the First Tavaran War, specifically to fill the role of what the Perseus was designed to do before the war. So I imagine that whatever Anvil is building in that kind of this kind of range will be guns and armor, less ship based, less carrier based, but more guns and armor, and be more of a of a gun platform. More of a destroyer type. Yeah, destroyer type or destroyer escort. You know, big, thick boy. Origin Titan holds champagne like no other. Exactly. Drake Titan suit would be awesome. Yeah, it would be industrial. Why does that industrial suit have 2 guns slapped to its shoulders? Don't ask questions. For protection. It's dangerous in space. Why does its tractor beams have a cutting torch attached to it? Rescue missions. The Drake Titan would be covered in spikes, free hugs. I heard the words anvil, thick boy, and thus was summoned. Hey, Loken. People asked if I think that an anvil capital ship will come out. And I think we might get a concept ship this year. And again, it's anvil. So we got the thick armor and the thick guns. Less of this holding smaller ships thing and more of a, I do not like this thing in front of me. I wish it was gone. Jenkins, you see that anvil, that Vandal ship in front of us? Yes. I do not want it to be. I don't want to see it anymore. You know. Drake Jaws of Life, yeah. This Drake power armor is you know, mini mech is designed for search and rescue operations and industrial work, which is why it's designed with the ability to break into ships physically, and it has weapons that are attached for its own self-defense. Don't shoot Retribution when Squad 42, sometime around there. Could see something that carries arrows as a fighter screen due to them not taking up a lot of space. I honestly would prefer more of a salt carrier than a gunboat. A hybrid between a Perseus and Idris would be nice. We already have pretty much every big ship in the game, like capital ship size of the game, has a fighter support of some kind. It would actually be more unique for it to not have any fighter support. Think about it. There's not a single large capital ship that doesn't have a fighter bay of some kind on it. Because the Perseus doesn't count, it's a gunship. So you've got the Polaris, which has a fighter bay. You've got, I guess the Nautilus would be the only one, but it has a drone bay. You've got the Idris, which has enough for 2. You've got the Javelin, which has enough for like a Vanguard. You've got the Bengal, which has one that could fit an Idris in it. The Orion's not a capital ship though. It's a capital class, I guess, but it's not. It's a support ship, and it does have a snub ship, I think, attached to it. The Hammerhead is not really a capital ship though. It's a gunship. Basically anything the size of the Polaris and up, which is the Nautilus would be the only one that doesn't have it. But as a result, almost all of them have fighter capabilities. Do I think the Perseus will get a size upgrade when its weapons are on its weapons? Possibly. I could see it going to size 8s, but I doubt it. If anything, they'll probably get more guns rather than the dedicated 7 or whatever. Yeah, 4 size 7s. It might have an additional like size 3s attached to them or something, but that's about it. Hammerhead is a Corvette though. In the ASOP terminal it is, but it's not a Corvette. There's no way it's the same class as a fucking Polaris. Anvil Aerospace, the skies are clear, one way or another. Yeah. Drake Power Armor would be the veiled trash cans held together with a ton of wires. So an urban mech. I don't know if that's an insult to urban mechs or to Drake. How you doing, Loken? Well, can we get a follow command for Loken? Fantastic streamer, worth your time, worth your effort, worth your subscription. Thank you, Cuban. Not bad. I hope I'm doing good. I'm doing better. I'm slowly getting better. I have the Monday. I have my Monday, this next Monday off, so I'm happy. I'm a trash can. That will still kill you with an AC-10. Yes. Question. Have there been any updates on the Halo gates when it'll appear in Stanton? None yet, but we know that recently CIG is working on physicalized quantum drives. So this is quantum drives that take into account the local areas. So more of what they're designed to be. So that if there's something nearby, it'll pull you out of quantum. Right now, they kind of fake that material, that whole system. They're trying to make it kind of, built into the game, which will then cause you to jump into the air in Halo and have to jump around the air in Halo. So I think these air and Halo stations will be put in when that system is implemented, which is not soon, but maybe by the end of the year at the earliest. How do they work out the size classes? Is it just down to ship sizes or the equipment or weight? It's down to its equipment. It's down to its equipment, its role. If it has size 4 or size 3, I think it's size 4. Size 4 components, those are considered capital class components. And so anything that has majority capital class components and its role is like, say, if it's a combat ship, it's capital class components. If it's big enough, it's its length, it's I guess maybe even displacement will determine what it is. But the answer is no. CIG has no idea how to classify those things. They just kind of are. There's no standard for it. Not at least that they've explained. Drake Titan would be made out of drain pipes with a rocket launcher for rescue purposes. Yes. What's the roadmap looking like these days? What's on the horizon? Looking forward to coming on. Let's watch that before I'm getting kind of late here, so I do want to kind of end it soon. But let's talk about the roadmap. It's a good point, because I don't know if Jake is here or anybody has heard anything. I don't think that's going to be updated until next week. It could be 2 weeks from now, but we'll see. Let's look at the roadmap. Where are you? Development roadmap. All right, we're going to look at the release view because, release view. All right. So we're going to kill these two. So this is going to be funny because most of 3.17 is barren. We have the DNA texture updates, which was pushed from 3.16. We have the Lorville Hospital, not very big. We've got 7 gameplay things. This is where it gets pretty big. The Hangar Map Manager app, which is a MobiGlass app that emulates the functionality of ASOP terminals, allow players to spawn ships, claim insurance, and access an array of landing services to maintain their ships. So you've got a full Hangar Manager app that's going to function like that. Then you also have persistent hangars, which will have the players have the ability to have their own persistent hangars. This will bring changes to the cargo gameplay loop by allowing players to buy cargo and send it to their hangars, then maximize their cargo storage space by allowing them to pack the goods themselves. Then we've got mining gadgets, which was on a previous one, which got pushed over. This is likely to have it. Same with this one, ship-to-ship refueling. It seems like they seem to be pretty close to being finished. Which just allows for ship-to-ship refueling. The system allows players to fly specific ships to refuel other ships and get paid for it. The player can fill those specific fuel tanks from the station using an updated rearm, restock, and refuel interface at the landing zone and at space stations. So we're going to have a brand new system for restock, rearm, and refuel. Selling items to shops is a big one. You'll be able to go to shops and sell items from their local inventory to shops using the new interface powered by building blocks. This supports the recently added loot generation feature, allowing these items to be sold for money. Then we have the NPC taxi missions. NPCs will request transport between rest stops and this mission type, which will with rewards will determine the speed and safety and comfort in which the player drivers the NPC to the destination. And then lastly, the player interaction experience is a holistic array of complementary features, systems, all related directly to the player. Player status, item status, environment status, as well as interaction with both the game world and the objects within it are covered under this system. This might end up being pushed a little bit because it's been around for a while, but that's a new thing. And then RSI Scorpius and the whole A are coming in. So of this, most of this stuff is probably going to make it because it's either a push from a previous patch or is not so complex that we don't already have elements of that in the game already. Some of the stuff might slip to 3.18 though, just because it's a lot of stuff. So we'll have to wait and see. 3.18 is where things get a little interesting though. 3.18, we've got radar and scanning. So this is FPS radar and scanning, includes improved signature system that supports much greater distances and the dampening of signatures by environmental interference and larger entities. This feature will be available to players in ships, in ground vehicles, and on foot. This has been on and off the roadmap for a while. They've talked about it, so it's in active development. Player Pirate Swarm, a detailed rebalance of the waves in a Marine Commander's Pirate Swarm and Vanduul Swarm modes, aiming for more engaging player experiences in these modes. It's probably going to be done by Fire Sprite, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. This is the other big one, Cargo Refactor. The refactor of the ship cargo system will allow both found and purchased cargo to be picked up and moved around and placed onto the cargo upgrade of a ship. Player feature EVA T2. This has been up and down the roadmap for a while. I don't know if we'll see it. We'll just see experiences. Further improvements to the EVA system following the transition to IFCS introduces limited EVA fuel and encourages the use of zero-G push-pull with multi-tool tractor beam. Salvage Tier 0. This is the big one. I don't think this is going to make it. I think this will be pushed to 3.19, but we'll see. And then zero-G push and pull, which is part of that whole system right here for the EVA stuff. So, and hacking tech, the new hacking tech. Some of this stuff might slip, some of it not. It's really hard to tell right now. But that's a lot of stuff. 3.17 and 3.18 are filled with... 3.17 is much more reasonable at this point, but I think 3.18 is probably going to have some stuff, that good stuff. If they push salvage again, they're going to push salvage again. I just don't think it's going to get pushed to forever. It'll be pushed to 3.19 and come out in 3.19. Ships and vehicles, Hull C and Vulture, both are reliant on both the cargo refactor system and salvage, so they have to be in. And then the Grey Cat multi-tool salvage attachment. This is just, the multi-tool salvage attachment to physical salvage. Wouldn't be the first time salvage has slipped. That's an understatement. The roadmap currently provides us with a different minigame. What'll get moved from 3.17 to later. Yes. So the answer is, it's looking promising. I think pretty much everything in 3.17 and 3.18 will make it this year, plus new stuff. Though the question becomes then, will anything else make it? Which is what we'll have to see here in the next few weeks to months. Salvage and Star Citizen is Peanuts football. What's worse about the whole thing, though, is that when Salvage finally comes in, people will find some other goalpost to move. Oh, well, Pioneer still isn't in. The Banner, whatever. People always find other goalposts to move. Question: do you think the fact that each planet was a server, we could get hundreds of players? Yes. I think CIG seems confident that they can get a lot of players together. They also seem to be pretty confident that they get 100 players together in almost the current system. If they just finished the Gen 12 renderer. They seem to indicate that the Gen 12 renderer has more impact on the number of players per server than anything else at this point. And that may be true. For information, CIG has had over 100 players on a server before. It ran like dog shit, but they've done it before. And it didn't crash the server. So they've done tests with more, and they've in fact had more players per server before. They actually had 60 players per server, either 60 or 70 players per server at one point was the standard. But then as things got added, they had to tier it back down to 50. And then at one point it went down to 40, then went back up to 50. So they've had some issues before that. The biggest issue with beyond the Gen 12 renderer, server meshing will allow for more players per server because the servers themselves won't have to render as much. Right now, the server is rendering the entire system of Stanton, which is billions of entities. Everything in Stanton is rendered and has to be loaded into memory. It can be unloaded temporarily, but it's still on the server. Once you have servers that are in the area of, say, like Lorville, that reduces the entities dramatically. So they can increase the entities that are available, but it also makes it easier to put more players in that one area because then the server doesn't die because of that. I think there'll be an upper limit. And early on, I think 100 to 200 will probably be the upper limit. Upper limit will probably be 200 until they can get things like server meshing or until dynamic meshing and other things in. But we'll see. The 690 jump is a boat. The 890 jump. There's no 690 jump. But yeah, there is actually a boat that's being developed for Squadrons, so I think we'll see it in Star Citizen at some point. No way ship the fuel makes it in 317. I disagree. I think 317 we will see ship the fuel. Mostly because it almost made it to 316. And it got pushed at the last minute. They were super confident in it to the point that they had committed it, which was like, they've never done that before. It's the first thing that ever got pushed from being committed. So I think unless there's something that's legitimately fucked with that system, they're going to push it for 317. Because again, 317 isn't in 2 weeks. It's not in a month. 317 is in March. Like, we are a good solid probably 9 weeks away from 317. We won't see 317's PTU until mid to late February. When do we get mag boots? Once they add the EVA system. The new EVA system that they're adding in supposedly in 317 will probably probably not mag boots in 317, but probably shortly after that, at least. They had mag boots at one point. You have working mag boots in Star Citizen. It fucked with the physics, but it worked. But what they decided to do is they're going to change it to be more simulated mag boots, but do everything they need to do everything they need to do. It'd have to be between a Javelin and a Bengal size. Oh, the Endeavor will never come out. It's too much of a headache to make. They should just go, sorry, boys, it's not a thing, and refund everyone. No, they're going to make it. They'll make it. By the time the Endeavor is fully ready to go, by the time that they're even kind of looking at the Endeavor to make it, the game's going to be a lot different state than it is now. They're confident with refueling because they didn't push it back to 318, just another quarter. Yeah, exactly. I want to see how they're handling refuel from containers. If they do that, containers, the refueling is coming from ships. But yeah, I'd like to see how if they're going to do physical refueling, so that when you land on like a station, if you have to physically refuel, I don't think that's the case yet. I think it's a new system, a new app, but we'll see if that ever actually becomes a physical refueling. I love my Endeavor. Great art JPEG. How long till the Caterpillar can detach its cargo pod? When they have modularization in, I think. Technically, they could probably do it now, but I think persistence is the question for that one. There's no point in having that ability if you detach from your cargo pod and fly away, because right now the ship your cargo pod will just despawn. They probably have to come back to that whole system and rebuild all that stuff anyways. I'm not sure why they didn't make the Endeavor and just make the modules equipable. That way you can just implement the modules with the gameplay as the gameplay is released. Because it's huge. The Endeavor is going to be the size of a Bengal. I'm curious whether John Crew is going to try and tackle the Endeavor as the end boss of the ship pipeline. He's going to try to pass it off as someone else. He'll tackle it. I think that's going to be a joint effort. there's no point in the Endeavor right now. Like, the only reason why you'd want an Endeavor is for the Hope. But none of the other stuff in the Endeavor is available yet. By the time the Endeavor is even ready for, like, even begins to undergo its new concept stage or its stage, its white box stage, by that time, Star Citizen will have been out for, will be fully finished for like a year. Like, we'll have 100 systems, which means that I am not expecting that thing to come out until the 2030s. Which is why I think it'll come out. It just will take forever. How long will the PU be around? Chris Roberts has stated that his goal is to, once Star Citizen launches, he wants to be able to support Star Citizen, the MMO, for 10 years. That's once it launched, and then leave it up to the hands of the players after that. With the command pod being removed, I wonder if the Caterpillar will have at least maneuvering thrusters to move around with its own control station or something. But it's only like 10 meters per second. Nah, it'll be like kind of like a station, I think, just not move. I'd love to see the Endeavor's front end. Oh, wait. Front end? I don't know what you're talking about, Axe. They do like to bring out ships that match the big new features coming into patches. Since the Endeavor is so multi-purpose, it should be done a while. It should be a while before it even gets looked at for development. Yeah, that's basically it. It's huge and it has so many different options. There's just no point in doing it until a lot of those features are in. 20 years to develop, 10 years once it's done. Not gonna take 20 years to develop. I know it's a meme. It's just a tired meme. I'm not sure why they didn't make the Endeavor. The reason why they didn't do it is because there's no modules for it. Like, there's no reason for it. It's a lot of work to do that you'd have to go back and redo in the future, which wouldn't make a lot of sense. Get new memes like poop when. Exactly. Poop is fresh. That shit's hot right off the presses. Abuse the poop meme. Poop meta is the new meta. Saying Star Citizen's in development forever, or it's like my grandkids will enjoy it. That shit's old and dead. It's a dead meme, not funny anymore. Now we ask about poop, like cool kids. Should have worn the brown undersuit. Should the ship be refueling and make it come in before hand refueling? Will be in tier 0. So ship-to-ship refueling is just docking with a fuel mechanic added. That's all it is. I don't think it'll be shortly. I think it'll be shortly after that where you'll see hand refueling come in, where you have to like take a nozzle and go to their thing and like put it in and refuel it. But I don't even know if that'll happen, because I think it's only for the Starfarer. The whole like choose like that the whole system is being built for the Starfarer. The Poop Man Shelley, you know it. All right, on that note, I think I'm going to call it a night. It's getting late here. I should get some sleep because I got one more day of work and then I got a 3-day weekend. I will see you tomorrow for Jumptown. Jumptown, baby. Join me and a couple other creators. We'll be holding down Jumptown, making some money, or just causing some chaos. So come join us there. We'll be live tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern here at twitch.tv/theastropub. If you're watching this on YouTube, come join us there. If you want to watch this, if you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, come join us live Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, which is 6 p.m. Pacific, I think. Yeah, 6 p.m. Pacific, where we talk AMA. we do some stuff. Next week's office hours, I'm going to do things you're wrong about. Things you're wrong about with Star Citizen. Where I'm going to talk about things like, for instance, one of the biggest things that a lot of people get wrong is that blah, 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 blah. My brain blank on this one because it's been so late. Development. There is no secret stash of content that CIG has. What CIG has, or what you see that CIG is working on, is what they're working on. So what you see right now is what they have. They have other things which are prototypes or works in progress, but there is no secret finished group. Like there's no secret set of finished systems that are just waiting for server meshing. It doesn't exist. Turn into you're wrong. Yeah. They do still owe us a Squad 42 trailer. I'll have to look up some of the other ones that I that are kind of big about it, like things like insurance. LTI doesn't matter. LTI is really pointless because of how insurance is supposed to be implemented. So stuff like that. I got to find a good. I was going to do it for today, but I just didn't have enough time to sit down and write a list of it. So I'm going to sit down and write a list of those and to do that as a capsule for next week. But we'll also do stuff like that. Seriously, if there's not a secret stash, they're wasting their time horribly. They're not wasting their time horribly. They're working on the game. Everything you see in the game is what they have. They need more people. Thank you, Q-Pen. That's a spicy take. It's true. All right, y'all. I will see you tomorrow. And if for the rest of you, I might see you next week. But if I don't see you again soon, hope to see you someday in the black. Have a good night. And remember, Ex Historia ad Astra.